The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Tasty Minstrel Games and Arcane Wonders. Check out all their awesome titles at playtmg.com and arcanewonders.com.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from underneath an escalator at GenCon 50 in Indianapolis, Indiana, it's the Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board card and occasionally role-playing games. Today, the Dukes talk about their GenCon experiences, and then they give reviews of restoration games Indulgence and Downforce. And now, the Dukes of Dice.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean.
And Alex. It's as good as I got right now.
Yeah, well, great. This is episode 156, which we're calling Cindy 500. Cindy, not Indy. Cindy.
Yes.
Because it talks about indulgence and all that stuff.
Sindy.
Yes.
Yes.
I usually do the spelling, Alex.
Oh.
Spelling is my territory.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Santa Fe County Spelling Bee champion. Come on now.
Long-time listeners will know that. Most other people are like, what?
First-time listeners will think we're very, very tired.
So that title is courtesy John Knost. You got to meet him, right?
I did, and he pronounced it for me, and I totally forgot how it was pronounced.
Well, thank you, John, for that suggestion. For all newer listeners, just know that we have a Board Game Geek Guild. We're guild number 2008, and every week we post a Dukes on Deck where we have people try and come up with a title for the next episode based on what we're talking about and provide other feedback for games and things like that. So what we do is we'll give you the rest of the top 6 names later on in the episode. But yeah, Alex, we're here at GenCon 50, the 50th anniversary, both of our first GenCons.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm tired. You're tired.
Oh, yes.
Because you've been working. I mean, I've been kind of working.
Yeah.
You've been like working.
You've been working it.
Yeah.
I saw that sway of the hips kind of walking down the vendor hall.
Okay. Well, we'll get more into that, but so we're kind of doing this impromptu recording session here Sunday morning.
Yep.
It's 8 a.m. The exhibitor hall is not going to open for another 2 hours or so.
That's correct.
And got some good stuff, some reviews and recounting of our experiences here. Real quick, just want to take a couple of seconds to talk about some show business. Last week, episode 155 was our 3-year Duke-iversary, and to say thank you to all our awesome listeners, and with the help of a bunch of amazing publishers, we've got a bunch of contests to give away a bunch of stuff. So you can go back and listen to 155 for some of the details, but basically there's some stuff on the Guild, there's some Twitter and Facebook share stuff that you can do to enter in. There is a phone number wasn't that weird how I said phone number? There's a phone number that you can call. It is area code 505-916-1883. And if you want to call in with your best friendly Shoggoth buddy,
Yep.
There's some details over on the Guild as far as what you need to do for that. But that's the phone number. Give it a call. We've got a couple voicemails so far, and I'm excited to see what all comes in.
More members of the Friendly Shoggoth family, who may actually sound more like the Friendly Shoggoth than I did last week.
Yeah.
I listened back to that.
Yeah. It was... That Friendly Shoggoth was kind of...
He wasn't up to it.
Yeah, he was phoning it in.
He wasn't up to it.
But, so by all means, enter these contests because we're giving away some awesome stuff. In fact, I already made the delivery of Lisboa that Jake Bach from Draft Mechanic won because he was able to guess 8 of my top 10 games. So
he knew his Sean quite well.
He sure did.
Even better than I did.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, he listens to me, Alex. Usually when I'm talking, you're like doing something, you're Facebook chatting with your special friend or whatever. So, Jake, thank you for actually listening to me. But, he said, hey, don't send it to me because it's going to cost you like $1 million to ship that 90-pound box. Not really 90 pounds, but it feels like it. And so I brought it out here, and I got to hang out with him, and I'll talk about that later, and made the swap, and cool. So definitely go check that out. Also, we do have a Patreon campaign up and running. If you go to patreon.com/Dukes of Dice, you can go over there and help support the show. We have a lot of amazing Patreon patrons, and we really appreciate all of their continued support. So I think that should do it for show business.
And just about do it for your voice.
It sure does. So this is the last day of GenCon. I've only been here 3 days.
Yep.
You've been here 4.
Yeah, so Sean, for me, more like 4 and change at this point. I got in Wednesday night. I flew in from Quebec City to Cincinnati, where my car was staying with some family. Hopped in the car, then drove here to Indianapolis. Got in pretty late at night. Had a heck of a hard time finding parking. Felt lost from the moment I got into this city, which was a theme that would carry itself through this con. Even you, sir, ended up lost a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken.
But real quick, I'm just going to go back for a second. Because you had to fly in from Quebec.
Yes.
To Columbus?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, as we said. And then drive here. So I figured it out, Alex.
Yes.
All of this wanderlust of yours, all of this travel, you are trying to fulfill your lifelong dream of being Carmen Sandiego. Did you steal any precious art or artifacts from time?
I just steal hearts, Sean.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, okay, so how else did you get here?
So drove in, parked, checked in, and then came over pretty much to where we're sitting and got in a few first night of the con games with Eddie Galvez, who's my roommate here at GenCon. I was able to get in at the last second. Him and another friend of ours, Len from Albuquerque, happened to have a room. I could probably see it from where we're sitting. It's that close to the convention center, incredibly convenient. Got so lucky to be paired up with those guys. Not only are they cool dudes, but it was incredibly convenient.
Sure.
Especially because at GenCon, you want to be close to your room as you're either picking up a bunch of stuff, or in my case, after having demoed a bunch of stuff, want to just lay down and rest. So got in a few plays that first night. Nothing all that new. We're talking Onitama. We're talking King Domino. Just kind of hey, you're here. Let's play some stuff.
So is it fair to say that you got here without a hitch?
Other than...
I need you to set me up for what I'm going to
sorry,
talk about.
excuse me.
So let me try.
Yes, Sean, it was a perfect experience, and nothing but all went wrong for me. How about you, Sean?
So I had some issues. I talked about last week that basically I was planning on coming out Wednesday nights, and then I had an emergency hearing at work. They got scheduled for Thursday morning, so I scheduled a Thursday afternoon flight. I went to that hearing, and it went long. Basically, noon rolled around, and we weren't done. Normally in that situation, the judge would have said, okay, I'm going to continue this, and we'll send out a new date pretty soon. But instead, he said, well, everyone come back here in an hour and a half. He gave us an hour and a half for lunch. Other attorneys are like, Judge, we have these other hearings. Like, I don't care. You got to be back here, figure it out. So I didn't say a word. And so in that hour and a half, I'm like, oh, crap, I'm going to not make my flight. I had to run home 45 minutes. I was out in Rio Rancho.
Oh, geez. Okay. Wow.
So I had to run home like 40 minutes to get to my house to basically finish packing. Like I was going to have plenty of time to finish packing and whatnot, but instead I'm like, I don't have time now. Like Raquel was going to take me to the airport, but instead I had to drive myself. As I'm driving, I'm calling Southwest. I'm thinking, please have availability on the last flight. And please don't make me pay $1 billion to change my reservation. Fortunately, they had availability, and fortunately, it was an even exchange. I didn't have to pay anything. But once the hearing finished, I just barely made it to the airport on time. In fact, I made it to the airport, and I had a little bit of time to spare, and I realized I left my iPad in the car.
Oh.
So I had to jump back on the parking shuttle.
Oh, no.
To go get it, and then come back. And then, other than that, it was good. Other than that, it was good. So I made it out here Thursday night, and it was kind of a bummer having missed a whole day of the con.
Yeah.
I mean, very much a bummer. But I got in at like 12:30 and got to the room, and it was like 1:30 or something. So I was staying with our buddy Nick from Albuquerque, his buddy Ray, and Nick's girlfriend Marissa, and we're kind of off-site at a residence inn. My room number is... Oh, wait, it wouldn't make sense.
It wouldn't matter.
Unless someone had some time travel capabilities.
Oh, no.
But,
better be safe than sorry.
But yeah, so Ray had a car, so we were able to drive in. We were able to stash stuff in the car from time to time. I had to Uber over a couple times, like today, coming in early. But yeah, I didn't really do much Thursday night because I was pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
But what was your Thursday like?
So my Thursday, as I mentioned, this for me was a con of being a little lost. I was a little lost trying to find a place to park the car. And then you come into this convention center, and so I've been to a few conventions before. I've been to BGG Con. I've been to Dice Tower Con. I knew Gen Con was going to be bigger, but until you get to this place in person and see just how sprawling and massive this whole setup is, it's really hard to capture in words. You have the entire convention center. You have the entire Lucas Oil Stadium just about. In fact, on the field of Lucas Oil Stadium, and this was Friday night, but I'll get to it right now anyway, they have a gaming library set up, a museum set up, a Gen Con museum set up, and another, I think Mayfair Games had something out there as well on the field. They literally took over the Colts field. An NFL team. By the way, I thought that was so cool as kind of this combination of jockiness and nerdiness, and I'm sure there were some nerds who kind of relished taking over the Colts field. Take that, jocks. So that's part of it. That's not even all of it, though, is the thing. In individual hotels, in individual rooms in the individual hotels, there are events, there are games, there are people playing everywhere. In one sense, that's absolutely amazing to see. Breathtaking in some ways. In another, it can be hard to find your way around, especially when you're first getting here. That was the case for me. So I needed to go get my exhibitor badge. So for folks who didn't hear last week, I ended up getting here through the help of Renegade Games, kind of at the last second. They needed a little extra help at the booth. So I've been basically demoing a few things for them. So from 12 to 3, I would set up shop, mainly demoing flip ships, alongside Kane Klenko, the designer of flip ships, as well as Fuse, Flatline, and Covert. Really a pretty hot designer as far as Renegade goes, and a great guy. And that was my whole deal. But getting to that point was tricky. I ended up at one point just wandering the event hall, looking completely lost while I was trying to find where I needed to get my shirt. That took me a good half hour, 40 minutes. So Thursday, that was most of it. Getting off of the booth, I went and rested for a little while, and I'm trying to remember what I even did Thursday night, and I'm drawing a complete blank. I did get in one new play I know for sure that day, and that was a game I played with you later on in the con, Cobra Paw. Cobra Paw, a Ghost Blitz style meets Mahjong kind of game. Dexterity, you're basically rolling 2 dice and grabbing something that they match. With your kitty paw, you're supposed to kind of reach out with a finger or 2 fingers.
Wait, kitty paw or cobra paw?
Cobra paw.
Okay.
But it's a cat paw.
Okay.
It's a cat paw, so it's a kitty's paw,
right,
reaching out and grabbing something.
Then why is it called cobra paw?
Because you're using your ninja skills to ninja away pieces.
Okay.
Being silent.
I'm confused. Okay.
That's the name of the game.
No, I understand that. Yes, that I understand. The fact that it's called cobra paw, but involves a kitten's paw.
Well, I don't know if it's a kitten's paw.
Okay, or
it's a cat's paw.
I don't think the age of the cat is my issue here.
Yeah, well, it's meant to be, I think, like Cobra form or something like that is the idea. There's some story in the game. If you read the rule book, you'd be able to figure out. Sean may be looking this up now.
I'm going to look this up.
Oh, boy. Yeah. So how this works is you first person to grab the tile that matches what gets rolled. All of them are unique, so every tile is going to come up if something gets rolled. You put your finger on it, you take it. The trick is those tiles are not safe. So it's first to 6, but those tiles in front of you don't stay safe. If you roll that same thing again, and let's say, Sean, you happen to have the one that matched, it's a race for whoever claims that one now. So you have to kind of be looking at your own stuff, at the board stuff, at other people's stuff, trying to desperately hunt for that piece. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. In my first game of this, one of the tiles got knocked off the table, and I literally dove inside of their booth to get my finger on top of it.
That is something you would do.
Yep, and I sure did do it. And hey, you know what? It paid off. I won that game.
Good.
Sean, I showed it to you. You actually seem to really like this one, especially even compared to Ghost Blitz.
Yeah, I like Ghost Blitz a lot. I think I like this a little bit more. It was really cool. So, for reference, though, according to the BGG page for it, in Cobra Paw, players take turns rolling the dice, which features 6 unique symbols, then race to grab the tile with the matching pattern before anyone else. Whoever grabs 6 tiles first wins. That's all it says.
Okay, well, it's in the rulebook. I know
There's a cat?
Yes.
There's some kind of cat.
There's a cat pictured on the box. Also, paw would imply a cat, so I don't know why this is so super strange, but Sean seems incredibly obsessed with this at this point.
Okay, so I'm looking at the picture, and there's a little ninja cat. Okay, so you're right. It's fine. No one showed me the box.
Oh.
No one showed me the box. Just take some responsibility, Alex.
But we also said meow the entire time we were playing.
Right, but I thought that was some addition. Like, we don't ever add stupid stuff to the games that we play. Like, for example, last night we were playing Clank.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, every time you kill the goblin, you have to name the goblin and name the goblin children that you just killed.
Love it. Now, was this Clank or was this... Oh, wait, nope, I know. It was not Clank in Space. So the question that comes up is what were some of the hot games, the hotness at Gen Con? And I happen to be at a booth that had like 2 or 3 of the hotnesses at Gen Con. Hot nigh. So Ex Libris just sold like absolute hotcakes. That's a worker placement game set in a library. Interesting how the locations work each round.
And you're a failure, right?
Oh, I'm a total failure. Sean wanted me to secure a copy.
Like, I would pay for, right? I wasn't looking for a review copy. Like, I'm going to pay for this game.
Yeah, I misinterpreted what you were asking me to do. Anyway.
And I'm like, okay, if we could have someone in the hottest game booth,
yep,
right? The hottest publisher booth at Gen Con, like, what? Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. Sorry. Clank in Space was also incredibly hot. So the next day, Friday, we had lines double wrapped around the booth right after the thing opened. It was insane.
Kind of like a Chipotle burrito that's too full. You got to double wrap it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll leave alone any other double wrap references.
Wow. Family show.
That's why I said I'll leave it alone.
Okay. But our job in that situation was to maintain the perimeter. All of the hot games are sitting in the middle. The massive crowds are outside, and they're like, ooh, and they're like trying to go in. Nope. So we were handing out tickets and kind of managing the line, keeping people entertained, making sure people didn't sneak into the booth and try and grab something. And boy, was it hectic. It was also kind of a little fun, though, sorting that all out. Sean, you were watching that a little that morning as I was jumping around inside the booth, grabbing things. Hey, we need Ascension. Okay, I got Ascension. Hey, we need this. I got this. It was my first experience on that side of things, and it was kind of cool to see it from a publisher's perspective a little bit.
All your parkour was really paying off.
Yep. I was doing some wall runs.
Yeah.
Yep, off the side of the booth. They also had Scott Pilgrim, which sold out incredibly quickly. They also sold out of Flip Ships, the game about flipping and ships that I love. They also sold out of Sentient and Fox in the Forest. I don't know what they have left at this point entering Sunday. Hopefully they have enough to appease the masses. But they are some hungry masses for Renegade stuff, so kind of shows you, no surprise, they're an incredibly hot company.
Yeah. No, it's pretty incredible. I'm really interested in playing Clank in Space. Really interested in Ex Libris. Other than that, I've played just about everything else in their catalog.
Nice.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, you can't say that for every publisher, for sure.
I mean, and we've talked about this before, but I mean, Renegade is just knocking it out of the park. Yeah. Like, they're making just, I think, great publishing decisions, and then they're doing the necessary development, the art products. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I
thought we were BFFs, but we were not on the in the know crowd when it came to Space Clank.
Okay, so you don't get in the know on Clank in Space.
Yes.
And you can't hold on to a copy of Ex Libris for me.
Yep. Completely worthless.
Okay.
Completely worthless.
Hey.
Hey.
Does this have any application to any other companies going forward?
We'll get there.
Oh, we're going to get there.
Maybe towards the end of the episode.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right,
that did happen Thursday.
Okay.
But I'm gonna hold that one out a little bit.
So that's going to be more a thematic entry point here, not a chronological. Okay.
Sure. Okay.
All right. So anything else on Thursday?
So one of the best booths at the entire con in my mind, was the Exploding Kittens booth.
Which has nothing to do with kittens, by the way.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Huh. Interesting.
Yes, that booth has kittens on the box and in the name.
Yes.
And nothing to do with cobras, though.
Right. Anyway. By the way, I like how with Cobra Paw, the assumption wasn't that it was a cat, maybe. It was an assumption that it was a cobra that somehow had sprouted paws that might grab something. Yeah.
A snake with arms is technically, I guess, a lizard, but...
A scary thing. Anyway, so what Exploding Kittens did for their booth, they didn't have the traditional Gen Con booth where you have someone demoing something, you have someone selling something, you have people talking about the hotness. What they instead had was a giant cat vending machine. Not a vending machine for cats.
Right.
A cat.
Or of cats.
Of cats.
Right.
We're obsessed with cats this episode.
Yes.
A giant vending machine shaped kind of like a cat face.
I just don't want to repeat our Barron Park incident from last week where I'm like, okay, it's a zoo of bears. It's not a park for bears.
Yes. Although the other one is more entertaining to me still. Anyway, so...
Off the rails.
Off the rails, as always. Not surprising, given the state of both of us. Anyway, giant kitten-style vending machine. what they had were a number of buttons, with some of which had copies of their games or expansions or plushes. In the top left corner was, I think, a genius move in that it said $1 random item. What would happen is, as you approach the booth, someone had a little sign with a stick up. Hello, person, choose the things you wish to buy. You punched in the things you wanted, hit I'm done. They would then hold up a sign that said processing after reaching out and taking your cash or credit card or whatever the case may be. You don't see anyone really, you just see hands kind of sticking out of the booth or sticking up with signs. And it was hilarious, especially because the random items were truly very random. I saw someone get handed a broom. I saw different people get handed balloon animals. I saw someone get a small melon. Food was a general theme. Kale was another one. I saw a little kid get sunglasses and like a banana hat. I saw another girl get like a pair of wings. And then they would stick out the camera. They stick out a selfie stick and take a picture of them right in front of the booth. As you can imagine, this drew a crowd. Of course, I donated $1 to the cause. My dollar got me a potato with a kitten face drawn on it. It was amazing. It was a piece of performance art as a GenCon booth, and it absolutely made my day.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, that was like one of the first things you told me. You're like, you have to go see this. Didn't tell me anything about it because you had to just be surprised by it.
Yeah,
and it was really cool. And they still probably sold as much as they would have otherwise.
Oh yeah, if not more.
Right.
And in fact, if everyone going up there was just $1 random item, they'd probably actually do okay. I mean, they have a lot of extra product, but they were still selling plenty of stuff.
I was a little sad because I saw someone pull a curtain back.
Oh yeah, you got to peek behind it.
You could just see all of their games just stacked up. And it was like,
it ruined the illusion for you.
It did.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it for my Thursday. I can't think of anything else offhand, but I'm also pretty tired at this point. So yeah, that was Thursday. Friday, you got here, Sean, and what were your first impressions of Gen Con as this place hit you?
So, if people will recall, I've been to San Diego Comic-Con in the past, right? So I didn't have a big shock going from a small Dice Tower con or BGG con to this. I knew it was going to be big. I think by all accounts, San Diego Comic-Con is bigger. So that wasn't shocking to me. I didn't have any sort of culture shock from this. It was awesome, and I was like, "Yep, this is about what I expected." I came in and went to go get my badge. Went to the wrong place.
Yep.
Because apparently there's a separate press room I had to go to. So I got my press badge, and it had Wi-Fi. It was a little lounge.
Oh, nice.
And had free coffee and free Wi-Fi.
You're in the frequent flyer club.
Yeah, totally. And my first order of business was to just go onto the dealer floor, the exhibit hall, and just walk around. Meet people, talk to people. If I could jump into a demo of something, I would. I will say that I've had so many people tell me, whether it's like Rory from the shop or whether it's other media people, they're like, you are not going to play a bunch of games there. And I knew that, I expected that, and that's fine. I got to spend a lot of time just kind of talking around, talking to different publishers, to some designers, taking a look at some of the new stuff. And that was I'm like, that's what I want to do here. Obviously I love playing games, but I played very few full games. I played only a handful of demos. And I will say that one of the most overwhelming things to me was this idea of, crap, I don't have enough time. Should I try and get in a demo of this game? What if there's a better game I should be demoing instead?
That's open. There's a table for.
Man. Yeah. No, that was certainly rough. But I got to see, I think, a good chunk of the exhibitor hall. And there are times when you'll be trying to walk down one aisle and it's just completely packed. Yeah. And you're like, nope, not going to go down there. I'll try and circle back and hit it, and you just don't. But it's kind of funny, I have some landmarks in my mind. It's like, okay, well, I know where, the Arcane Wonders booth is, and I know where the Renegade booth is.
You built out a mental map at a certain point.
Yeah, and but at a certain point, you're also incredibly lost.
Oh, yes.
And it's almost more effort to, pull out the list of vendors and the map and then, try and figure it out. But no, it was, I love big exhibitor, vendor hall type stuff. It's fun. I like that kind of stuff, whether it's a local Comic-Con or whatever. But yeah, met up with you. I think it was before your shift or after your shift. I can't remember.
So I was helping them dish out the hotness.
Yeah.
That morning that you came.
Oh, that's right.
So you met me first over at the Renegade booth, and then I was free up for a little bit before my actual shift started at noon.
Right. So we had to go over and meet Paul Grogan, because he was there with CGE, with Czech Games Edition. Paul Grogan, of course, from Gaming Rules Vids. And he had this present for you, Alex. And he sent me a message on Facebook like a couple days ago saying, hey, I got this for Alex. And at first I was confused. So basically, the punchline is, it's a shirt that says I play green.
Yep.
Right? And so at first I'm like, okay, so either this is really meta and Paul is stoking the fire of mine and Alex's now kind of quashed rivalry of who gets to play green.
Yeah, I mean, I give you crap about it.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Right.
I don't know if there was ever a rivalry so much. I don't think we'd ever fight over green.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So but I would give you a bunch of guff, like every time you'd be like, oh, baby Sean can't play without his green.
But, so I wasn't sure if it was that or if it was he was confusing us.
Yeah.
Because I play green. But hey, I'm giving the shirt to Alex. So I was confused. but we saw him and he kind of explained it because he said, yeah, I bought this like 9 months ago and over something we said on the podcast. He's like, I don't remember what it was anymore, but it seemed like this was what I was going to do. I guess he was going to try and give it to you at a previous con or something.
Dice Tower Con, I think?
I think so. So we got to go meet him, and it's always good to see him. CGE has an entire room on the second floor. So instead of having a booth, they've got this whole room where it was always full of people playing their games. I mean, pretty much their entire collection of games.
Yes.
I saw Zolkin out there, Last Will, Little Galaxy Trucker, Through the Ages. In fact, Paul was demoing Through the Ages to someone. I'm like, holy cow. So they also had out Codenames Duets.
Yeah.
And then the Marvel and Disney Codenames. So you and I got to play that. You played it before at Dice Tower Con.
Yeah, Codenames Duet, and I was pretty sure you were going to like it.
Oh, yeah.
And you definitely did.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. We've kind of talked about it briefly before, but basically it's 2-player Codenames, and you're both trying to guess other things on this 5x5 grid. There are some. I have assassins and you have assassins. If I guess one of my assassins, it's not your assassin, so to speak. So
right.
That might sound a little confusing, but it was excellent.
Basically, it's a 2-sided clue card.
Right.
That has a certain number of agents in places and a certain number of assassins in places, to the point where you have 15 total agents, and I don't know the total number of assassins on the board, but each of us has 3 we're trying to get the other to avoid.
Right. And it was good. It was super good. So I'm really glad I got to play that. Definitely excited to play more of that. I think that's something that I could play with Raquel, something I could play with Mariah even. It was really, really solid. Then we took a look at Marvel Codenames.
Yep.
And it looks super difficult. Unless you are like a Marvel junkie.
Yeah.
Like,
good luck.
They had 25 cards out, whatever. I recognized half of them.
Yeah.
The other half are just, some random superheroes from whatever. And from what I could tell, it was all comic art. Like, I don't think there was any movie pictures or anything like that.
Yeah, as far as I could see from just a glance, yeah.
But then we did jump in a game of Codenames Disney.
Yeah.
Which I had a much easier time with. I think there was one thing I didn't recognize, and it was the pig from Moana, because I haven't seen Moana yet.
Yeah, you will.
Chewy's seen it like twice now, but like I've never been able to watch it. What did you think of Codenames Disney?
So what was actually pretty useful for me was we went from playing Codenames Duet to then playing Codenames broadly. So Codenames Disney is basically Codenames, just with more like Codenames Pictures.
Right.
With a Disney theme.
Although, to be fair, this does have both a picture on one side and then the word on the other.
So in theory, it's both.
Yeah.
In theory, it's both. It reinforced for me why I like Codenames Duet so much and why I'm less likely to play Codenames, period. With Codenames Duet, it's a little snappier. It's just 2 of you. You can give out multiple clues in a row, in theory. Both people have to get their job done. But if someone's pausing or waiting too long and you happen to have a good clue, you don't have to wait. You can give it out and kind of start out another turn. I like that. I like that it still feels very thinky and tense, and that both of you have the opportunity to be both clue giver and guesser. Mm-hmm. So there's a full reward, and you get both roles in one game. And it feels like it zips along a little better. The problem I have with Codenames is in a lot of situations, if you have a clue giver who gets stuck or whatever else, there's a lot of downtime for the other players who are just kind of sitting around, talking, making jokes, whatever that case may be. And that was fun to a degree. but sometimes clue givers can be brutal in this game. Really brutal. And it took a while.
And you're just saying sometimes. You're not saying this game necessarily.
No, not this specific game.
With these specific people, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but it definitely reinforced for me, I like Codenames Duet a lot. I'm actually pretty much less likely to get Codenames to the table itself, unless it's the absolute right group of people.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm on that. But I'm glad you finally got a chance to get in Duet, and I'm sure that will be added to the Duchy collection pretty shortly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, big time. It's really excellent. I also got to play Custom Heroes from AEG. This is part of their new Big in Japan series, where they're bringing over some different Japanese games. This is it's a card crafting system where, kind of like Mystic Vale, it has plastic cards that are transparent but have certain art elements on them that have some game effect, right? So this is, well, in the demo I did, it was described as a trick-taking game. It's not a trick-taking game, and I've heard other people call it. It's not. It's a ladder-climbing game. So it's like Tichu or Chimera. You're shedding cards, right? It's a card-shedding game. And what you're able to do is, there's no suits. It's just, I think you have cards like 1 through 10. And what you're doing is you're either laying down a single card, it's a 1, the next person can play that same value or higher. What's interesting is if 2 people play the same value, it skips the third person.
Oh.
And then if the fourth person plays that same value, it'll skip that next person as well. So there's some interesting things there.
Kind of Fuji Flush-esque.
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
With the teaming up.
Sure.
Momentarily.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that actually makes sense. And so you can play like, okay, here's a pair of 2s. The next person needs to play a pair of 2s or a higher pair and things like that. So that's fine in and of itself, right? Nothing particularly exciting about that, except that you are able to eventually start crafting these cards. You start with some special transparent cards that you can slide into the sleeve of one of your cards that might increase the value of it, or might give you some sort of special ability. Like I had one that said, this card now counts as 2 copies of itself. So I had put on a 9. So basically when I played it, it was now 2 9s. Or if I played it with a third 9, a second 9, there are 3 9s, so to speak. And as you're crafting these cards, you're throwing them away, right? You're not keeping them. It's not like deck building or anything like that. And these get shuffled into the deck, and they get dealt out to everybody. So I may have crafted this card, but now, Alex, you wind up with it. It was interesting. The first round I was like, I don't know, but it's because there wasn't a lot of the special craziness happening. But once we got into the second round, I was like, okay, I see where this is going. I liked it a lot. I tend to like ladder climbing games. To me, this doesn't necessarily have the same level of strategy that Chimera or Haggis or Tichu has, but it's doing something very different with that genre.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in playing more of it. I didn't pick up a copy here, but I'll probably be picking up a copy at some point.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think you would like it because you like ladder climbing games.
I do. Yeah, I like Tichu a lot.
Yeah. So, but that's Custom Heroes from AEG. It's crazy. That was kind of most of my
Friday.
I
got in some more stuff. Friday was actually probably my most productive day of the con in terms of new plays and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So one of the things you can do, so this is not just board gaming here. There are all sorts of gamers here at this con. RPGers, miniature players, take your pick. One of the things I got in was curious about. I met up with a friend from college, a friend named Riley, and he invited me to join them for an Artemis spaceship bridge simulator.
You got to do Artemis.
I did do Artemis.
Oh, man. What was your role?
So there are a number of roles. For folks who don't know, this is sort of like a Star Trek-esque bridge simulator. You're on a spaceship trying to go on missions, take out enemy ships if necessary, or convince them to surrender, whatever the case may be. And you have a number of roles. So you have engineering, you have weapons, you have helm, you have science, and I was comms, as you might imagine. I was the comms officer. We also had a captain who was walking around and checking in with us. We had a lot of fun with this. So my job as comms was to send in orders for different weapons to the space stations or direct ships on where to go. Hey, turn one, heading 180. Hey, come and fight this thing. Hey, run away, go away. There's something near you. Hey, proceed to your next destination. You're fine. So that was my job. But the best part of my job was I could communicate with enemy ships as well. My only options for communicating with enemy ships are to level varying degrees of insults at them. Either ask them to surrender or some version of an insult meant to enrage them. The game has a clear insult mechanic built in that if you send the wrong insult to the wrong ship, they won't respond the way you want to. The primary reason you might do this is to enrage them to the point where they might steer themselves into a minefield and trying to come after you. Those are the kinds of things you do. Now, the science officer can scan these ships long range and get some information to help tailor my insults more properly. So it'll say, the captain is unmarried and bombastic. Literally, and like 80% of the ships, the captain is unmarried, the captain is unmarried. So I was continually checking the marital status of all of these alien ships. If you send the right insult, they'll be like, Terran scum, you'll die here. If the message is wrong, they'll be like, you don't know what you're talking about, radio silence, and they won't respond in any form or fashion. You can try and call for support. The problem was, in one case, the support I called for, I directed them through a space monster, an undefeatable space monster, that tore their ship apart. So the support never got there.
Oh.
We blew up once, and then we ended the game on a suicide mission to take out a ship that had been taunting us the entire time. Surrender now! Surrender now! You have no chance to survive. Make your time. It was a lot of fun. You can imagine, for me as a thematic kind of game player, amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And to have a captain there. Captain, permission to insult the Arvonian cruiser. Permission granted. Insult away. Ensign. I was Ensign Goldsmith for this one.
I don't think that's how Star Trek works.
Well, you would know better than I would.
I would.
Yeah.
80% of the episodes are just Uhura asking Kirk, hey, can I insult this Klingon?
So yeah, that was Artemis. And then I walked over from there after dinner to go to the library over at Lucas Oil Stadium. Got in a couple new plays. First play of Inish, which actually got reviewed on the show a few months back. So go back and listen to that episode for more cogent, consistent thoughts. I liked it. Didn't love it. I don't know what score I would give it off of a single play, but interesting enough. The really big new one that I got to the table was Secrets. This was my first night playing Secrets. That's a Bruno Feduti, Eric Lang co-design, put out by Repos Productions. And it is a social deduction game where you have KGB, you have CIA, and you have a hippie. KGB and CIA are trying to have the most points based on cards laid in front of them. The hippies trying to have the fewest points of anyone at the table. If the hippie has the fewest points, they win ahead of everyone. If not, then we check the individual teams. It's a role-switching, kind of social deduction-y kind of game. Sean is squinting at me.
Go on.
Go on.
I'll say my piece here in a little bit.
What you do in each round is the active player is going to take two cards. It have to be two different cards that have certain effects. You're going to pick one to send back to the deck, and then the other one you're going to offer to another player at the table. They can choose to accept it or reject it. If they accept it, that card goes face up in front of them. If they reject it, it goes face up back in front of the person who sent it. So, there's a question of alliances. If this person's on my side, are they likely to send me a friendly card? Maybe I thought they were on my team and they're not, and they're going to send me a card that's going to mess everything up. This card might be nice because it allows me to switch the roles and change the state of the game a little bit. I had a lot of fun with this one. A lot of thematic fun, even when you were able to figure out the different roles. It was reminiscent to me of like a good cop, bad cop. In some of the role switching in teams, you get more and more information as the game goes on. It's not always perfect information. Sean, you got at least a couple of plays of this last night. I actually convinced you to buy the game.
You did.
Was it a good decision?
Before I played it, you were like, Sean, you're going to love this game. This is the best game.
I didn't say the best game.
You're going to love it.
Wait.
And so I bought it. We went over to the Asmodee store thing that they had. And okay. So Bruno Feduti, Eric Lang, like you said. Bruno Feduti designed Masquerade. Do you remember Masquerade?
I think I may have played it once.
I think you played it.
Once, at AI, back in the day.
Yeah, and so Masquerade was super chaotic. It is, the whole point of the game is role switching.
Yes.
Right? So in Secrets, role switching is like, I don't know,
a significant
60% of the game.
Yeah.
Right? In Masquerade, it's like 95% of the game. And so Masquerade always felt to me really chaotic and unsatisfying and just, So this was less chaotic than Masquerade. So there are parts about this that I enjoyed, but you can't pride yourself on being able to figure out the game state, because you figure out the game state, and then all of a sudden there's some switch that happens.
Yeah.
Either switching with an opponent, or switching with the hidden piece in the center, and so it was fine, to use a Seanism.
Oh boy,
it was fine. So Mariah likes Masquerade a lot. I don't. I just don't. And I kind of got rid of it. Sorry, Mariah. Not that she was asking to play it. This I would still play, though. I'm not gonna be super thrilled for it, but I'll play it.
We were talking earlier about knowing your Sean. Apparently, I didn't know my Sean.
Well, it hits some of the things that I like, but it was just a little too chaotic. And it was really like, I'm like, cool. I was the CIA. I'm setting up so that I've got some points. I know who my partners are, and boom, someone switches with me. So I'm now either KGB or a hippie. And if I'm a hippie, then I'm trying to have the lowest points. So it's a 50-50 call at this point. I'm either a hippie or I'm KGB. So I was able to get a second scientist. You have two scientists in play. Your entire tableau flips. So I went from having 5 points to 0 points on the hope that I was a hippie. Turns out I was KGB, and
Oops.
I screwed up for my team.
No.
So yeah, it's worth a look.
Okay.
It's worth a look.
Interesting. I liked it a lot better.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. I tend to like a little more chaos in games sometimes than you do.
Okay.
Not always.
All right.
Anyway.
Any other games Friday? Keep in mind, I have something to talk about Friday, just not game.
Oh,
related
just not game related.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty much it. We were in the library until about 1 a.m. and then made my way back. I'm trying to think of anything else of interest. Oh, yes. So Friday this was an unusual experience for me. So for folks who listen to the show, they might know that I don't listen to a ton of other board gaming podcasts. Don't listen to a ton of them.
Yep.
Including some of the really big ones.
Yep.
Like, say, Secret Cabal, which is one of the biggest. You were at the Cabalist meetup, and I know you'll get to that.
Yeah.
And that, I heard, was insane. In any case, I was demoing flip ships, and I saw a couple of people kind of standing and watching. And I saw on the badge, sometimes like I will read the name ahead of time to greet people as they come up. And I said, hey, Jamie. And it was a person with the name Jamie Kegi. That name did not... Kegi. Great. Yep. As you can tell, that name didn't mean a whole heck of a lot to me.
Yeah.
Which shows you exactly my level of complete and utter ignorance. Yeah. Is right.
You should probably downplay your level of complete and utter ignorance as far as interacting with media people going forward.
keep that on the down low. And then there was someone else with a badge, Tony Topper.
Uh-huh.
Did I get that one right this time?
Yes, this time it's right. As Alex has recounted the story in the past, at one point it was Don Topper, and then I think it was like Tom Topper.
Yeah, Tom Topper. Yeah. Any case, but when I said, "Oh, hey, Jamie," step on up. Well, not in the like, "Hey, you're famous" kind of thing. Because apparently both of them are, for folks who don't know, co-hosts. I didn't know co-hosts on the Secret Cabal. Sean is just dying. I made him almost spit out his Dr. Pepper there. Yeah. So they stepped up and they were like, "Oh no, not the real Jamie and not the real Han." They were like laughing about it and joking, like, "Oh, not those guys." But it said their badge had that, and it said Secret Cabal Podcast on it. So I was like, that's weird. I looked at pictures of both of the people in question later. They were not them. This was like a taller guy with longer gray hair, and another guy who was shorter with a kind of like a Brazilian accent, as best I could tell.
Okay.
I don't know who these fake podcast badge holders were, but
there was probably
odd.
some shenanigans. So.
Oh yeah, certainly some shenanigans. Likely, possibly at my expense, or just at other people. I don't know how that all went down. Any case, Sean, you were dying as I was telling this story, as you thought for a second I'd actually demoed for the real people, maybe, and not realized it.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Funny on a number of fronts, maybe.
Well, because it was me and TJ Firebeard Terry, who was a frequent, well, not frequent, but he gets mentioned a lot, like on Blue Peg, King Peg, and stuff like that.
Sure.
And we were there demoing, because I have never played flip ships before.
Right.
Demoing flip ships.
Let alone reviewed it.
Yeah. So, it was amusing. It was an amusing story.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, so my Friday night involved me going to the Punchboard Media meetup. We have a lot of friends in the network. Patrick Hillier, who's a contributor to the What'd You Play This Week podcast thing. Got to hang out with him. Got to hang out with Jake and Danielle from Draft Mechanic. Our buddy BJ from Board Game Gumbo. Board Game Gumbo is now part of the Punching Cardboard Network as well, as far as their written reviews and whatnot. So that was cool. Got to hang out with BJ, which is always fun. And yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see they had a nice turnout. They had a bunch of games they were raffling away and things like that. So it was good to hang out with them. And then afterwards, a bunch of us went over to the Omni Hotel, to the Severin Bar, which, for reference, was the location of a Secret Cabal meetup in the past. This place probably has a capacity of like 200 people. Okay? Just file that away, everyone, for later. So, get to this bar for the Rolling Dice Taking Names Strike Tournament. Yeah. This was to establish whether Strike is a game about rolling dice in a bowl or if it's about gladiators fighting in an arena. And so I signed up for the tournament. I got to see Marty and Tony, talk to them. Who else was there? Oh, Roddy Smith from Watch It Played was there. Jamie Keegi was there. The actual Jamie. The actual Jamie was there. And got to see Rob from Blue Peg Pink Peg. Got to meet Jeremy from Blue Peg Pink Peg. Christina Rouse, Rob's wife, and Patrick was there. And so it was cool. It was cool to kind of hang out there, have some beers, play the Strike tournament. Ultimately, the arena team won. And there was a penalty that Marty had to do. He had to walk around Saturday in a squirrel costume, a hot head-to-toe squirrel onesie type thing with a hood. It was pretty funny. BJ and I actually had a murder-suicide pact because when we came in and signed up for the tournament, Tony had written our names down wrong in the wrong numbers. So rather than have him fix the numbers, because they had like a raffle, but it was also our entry to the tournament type thing. BJ and I swapped our tickets, and then we were both like, wait a second, what if one of us wins the other person's ticket? Because we had to change, so we decided that we would go halfers in on something. Okay. Anyway,
it didn't happen.
It did.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, BJ won some kind of like laser cut wood tray of some sort. Huh. I'm like, you're good. You can
it's all yours.
You can do that.
Okay.
So but it was I lost in the first round of Strike, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun there. And then after that, I went with Jake and Danielle from Draft Mechanic to do a bottle share. So if you guys know anything about Draft Mechanic, they have a fantastic podcast talking about board games, but also craft beers. And it's not just them like drinking, like talking about board games and drinking. It's them like they have beer segments that are really involved, really well researched. If you're a craft beer enthusiast, I definitely recommend it. And their board game discussion is fantastic as well. So this is my first bottle share. I've never done that before. Basically, people bring bombers and other stuff and just pour out a little bit for everyone to taste. There were some really good stouts. I'm not a big fan of sours, but I found a sour that I actually liked. I was able to teach the Climbers from Capstone Games and part of their Simply Complex line. So I was able to teach that, and I got to meet listener Jeff Epner, who I spent the entire night thanking profusely because he did the show notes during your hiatus.
Yay!
Which was, you know how long those take. So huge time saver for me, and he was really cool. I was glad I got to hang out with him. We played Dead Last. Which is a lot of fun, and it kind of fell apart. I think everyone was kind of feeling the
a little tipsy, just a little bit,
and the game kind of fell apart. But yeah, so I had a decent amount to drink.
Okay, and one drink, Alex, or 2 drink, Alex?
2 drink, Alex.
2 drink, Alex.
Yes.
Oh boy,
but this was more than 2 drinks.
I know that. That's the implication.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so the joke was that Nick and Ray had to pour me back into the car. It wasn't that bad. But yeah, it was a good night. It was a lot of fun. Got to hang out with a bunch of awesome friends and try some new beers and got to play some games. So Friday night was really cool.
Nice. Saturday morning was pretty cool as sort of, we met another listener, Scott Duvall, Scott at Law on Twitter, I believe.
No.
No?
Louisville Dad.
Dang it. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
Whoops. There's a Scott at Law. That's Scott Sexton. Okay.
Yep.
Apologies, Scotts. Apologies to both Scotts.
Scott attorneys.
Both of them Scott attorneys. So, you know what? I don't feel too bad about that. We ran into Scott Duvall, Louisville Dad on Twitter, one of the big supporters of the show, who had apparently, I had not seen this before, had tweeted, I'm wearing my Duke shirt. Hopefully I'll run into them today. Well, I saw him as he was heading, interestingly enough, towards the Renegade Games booth to try and buy, I think, Ex Libris or Space Clank. I don't remember offhand. And I saw the Duke shirt, and as he was walking by, I said, hey, Dukes of Dice shirt. And he, spun around, looked for a second, and his eyes lit up a little. It was really cool. It was nice to meet him, and nice to see someone else wearing the ducal swag out on the convention floor. So we met up with him. He gave both of us a wonderful book on Kentucky cooking.
Burgoo, bourbon, and...
Burgers, I think.
Barbecue.
Barbecue. That sounds right. Yep. So received that and got to meet him. Very, very nice guy, and he's been a big supporter of the show for a while. Was telling us, hey, I was a fan way back when. He was a fan before it was cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's been there since just about the beginning, if not the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I will say, it was cool to kind of run into people that had Duke shirts on.
Yeah. I didn't see anyone else.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope.
Oh, okay. No, I saw a couple people Joseph Owens. I'm like, hey, here's some guy with a Duke shirt on, and so I met him, and he'd actually reached out to me earlier to try and set up a game of Feudum while we were here, and I kept trying to connect with him to play it because I really wanted to play it. So apologies, Joseph, for not being able to actually get that going because I really want to play Feudum.
Yeah.
And I think it's a heavier game that you might like. Because it has crazy art.
Okay.
Like really weird psychedelic trippy stuff.
Interesting.
It looks super good and super crazy.
Cool.
But yeah, it's cool. It's cool to kind of be recognized every now and then. But not often.
Trust me, there's nothing that makes you feel smaller within the industry than coming to something like GenCon when you see this massive crush of people.
Yeah.
Huge crush of people.
Oh yeah.
The fact that there's even a few in the crowd, though, was heartening to see. Yeah. So, yeah, that was nice. We had some sponsorship meetings kind of throughout the day that day. Into the evening, I went and had dinner with Dan King, the board game geek. Ended up co-recording an episode of the Dice Steeple podcast with, obviously, Sam Healy co-hosts that with Dan King. Mike Fitzgerald was also on the panel, myself, and Stefan from Yellow. Mm-hmm. The COO of Yellow and president of Gamma. Really interesting chat. Talked a lot about theming in games. And for folks who don't know, Dice Steeple is sort of more of a religious podcast, but it's meant to incorporate all different worldviews. It's not purely a Christian podcast, and I was sort of brought on for a bit of a different perspective. I don't know when exactly that episode's set to drop. Dan obviously has to fly back and edit it, and he's got a million other things. But we'll link to that when that one comes out. It was a pretty cool conversation, and I'm excited to hear what folks think about it. Yeah. So ended up doing that, and then right afterwards went and gamed with Sam Healy and Mark Streed from Board Game Corner. Ended up playing that over at the Hyatt, where they had some gaming space set up, kind of tucked away, hidden in an RPG room. We played Edge of Humanity. Edge of Humanity is an apocalyptic deck builder, meant to be kind of, very thematic, but kind of Legacy-esque, in that you're building stories in different scenarios. I happen to jump in on scenario 2. Your decks don't change in any permanent way, but they add rules as it goes, kind of one of those types of games. With this one, they added firearms to the mix, which hadn't been in their first scenario, and this one, ironically enough, was set in New Mexico.
Oh, interesting.
It was a nuclear fallout campaign, and they ended up setting that one, not campaign, scenario, and it was set right in the heart of New Mexico. Played through that. It's basically you're scavenging for stuff, different tools, supplies, trying to build buildings, shelter for your survivors to hide in, recruit survivors that might have different effects, increase your hand size. Sean, I think you're going to absolutely love this one.
Oh boy.
No, I think you'll like this one a lot. As far as deck builders go, quite thematic.
Wait, so I will or won't?
I think you will, but we've seen already I'm 0 for 1. 1 for 2. I'd say Cobra Paw, but I didn't think you were going to love, you like Cobra Paw more than I thought you would.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like those splits.
I know that, but Yeah, I'm never sure with you.
Okay.
Apparently.
Wow.
Anyway, played that one, got my butt handed to me by both of them. Mark Street was kind of pretending to be tired the entire time.
One cheek each?
Yeah, exactly right. Mark was pretending to be tired and actually went on this massive comeback, nearly pulled it out at the end. Sam Healy actually won the game 11-10. Once you hit 11 points, the game's over. It was 11-10 to 5.
Wow.
Yeah, not good. Not a good job by me.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't represent the Duchy so well there. Had a great time, though, with all those folks. It's pretty awesome.
Cool. So there was one game I really wanted to play while I was here, and that is Merlin from Queen Games. It's not out yet. Whenever the Queen Games booth, they're doing... So they're not sure. They're not exactly sure, but they think they're going to do a Kickstarter around the time of Essen. But I also heard it might be coming out at Essen. So it's kind of confusing. Although for the most part, Queen Games' Kickstarters are previews. Are pre-orders. That's generally how they do it. So this is a new Stefan Feld game, and I am blanking on the designer of Pillars of the Earth. He is a co-designer on this. So that's kind of an incredible team. Pillars of the Earth is an amazing game. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Stefan Feld. And so I was very much eager to try this. You are a Knight of the Round Table that is basically trying to be the successor to King Arthur, and it uses a rondelle. So you have a little piece that represents yourself on this rondelle. It's an action selection rondelle, and there's also a little Merlin figure. On your turn, or in a round, you're going to roll 3 dice of your color and then 1 white die. Those 3 dice determine how far your piece can move around the rondelle and which actions they can take. Your white die will indicate how far Merlin can move, and oh, by the way, Michael Rinnick, Alex pulled it up. Thank you, Alex.
Yay! I'm helping.
Yes, the designer of Pillars of the Earth. So basically, you have 3 opportunities in a round to move your character, and then Merlin can go in either direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, whereas your figure can only go clockwise. All right. So there's a bunch of different actions. There's so many moving parts to this game because you're trying to get shields, particular shields, to defend against these barbarians that are coming over the ramparts. It's really cool. You have this player board, and it has the crenellations at the top, like a castle, a fortress, whatever, and the little barbarians kind of fit into those, and they're different colors, so you have to get different color shields to deal with those. There is kind of an area control board off to the side, and it's just it felt like just a Feld game, right? Because you've got kind of that Castles of Burgundy dice selection, there you've got a little bit of Aquasphere influence with the rondelle, because in some ways Aquasphere is kind of a rondelle-ish, and then it's a circular track,
okay,
and the actions that you take are somewhat dependent. A little bit. Just slow your roll there. It's fine. It's close. It's ish, rondelle-ish.
Okay. Right. Excellent.
So we only got to play 2 rounds of the 6. I enjoyed it, but it's hard to get a feel for how much I enjoyed it.
Okay.
If it's going to be an Aquasphere Feld, which is fine, which is a fine game, or if it's going to be a Castles Burgundy. It's not going to be Castles Burgundy. It's a question of where
on that spectrum it falls.
And having played a third of the game essentially in this demo, it's hard to say.
It's tricky in a lot of cases because unlike, say, a Dice Tower Con or a BGG Con, where in a lot of cases you're getting in full plays of things, right, because they're hot, and there are hot games tables available in different places here, but you have to find them. In a lot of cases, these demos can be abbreviated unless the game itself is pretty short.
Right.
Which it makes sense. Publishers are trying to sell stuff. There's big demand to try different things. You have one person sitting at one copy of a game for too long, it's going to block and keep other people from trying it. So I get that. By the same token, it makes it harder to get a full sense of games as you play them. Right.
I mean, it definitely left me wanting more. So that's good. That's definitely good. It felt like it felt, like I said, and it's got the co-design of Michael Rinnick. So it's solid. I'm looking forward to trying this. A full game of it.
A full game.
A full game of it. So did a bunch more wandering around the dealer hall. I got to take a look at Klondike Rush from Red Raven Games, which completely was off my radar.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about this game. I didn't know it was going to be here. And apparently it's so Red Raven, Ryan Lockett, he's designed it, he did the art. I think he designed it, I think. I'd have to double check that. If you want to check that out, that's fantastic. So,
research assistant Duke Alex.
It's not in the City of Iron universe. It is real world. There's an auction element to it. It's got his fantastic art. There's a Yeti, I think, some sort of abominable snowman, whatever. But it was just kind of a surprise to me, and that was kind of, and I bring it up because number one, I'm a fan of Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games. By the way, Alex confirmed that he was the designer on it. But it's an example of something that I wasn't expecting to see. And with all of the craziness happening with like Fantasy Flight games, right? Like they just announced Twilight Imperium 4, they had it available for purchase here. They announced that they were like reprinting the Star Wars West End role-playing game, which I had way back in the day, which was a great. Well, it wasn't a great system, but it was a fun system. So they had that. They had the new is it Star Wars Legion, I think, which is the new miniatures game that they're doing, that Fantasy Flight's doing. So like, there's all these big announcements, right? You know,
right.
Clank in Space for Renegade and whatnot. But I feel like there's so many other things that can kind of slip through the cracks. You just can't be there to see everything.
Breaking Bad, the board game.
Yeah.
I want to get a demo of that. Didn't have time at the time we went by it, and wasn't available to when I first saw the game. Looks really cool. It's going to be a faction-based card game.
Yeah.
Where you have Jesse and Walt, and you have Tuco and Hector, the Salamanca faction. You have the DEA faction with Hank and Gomi. It's going to be amazing, and I think it's obviously going to sell like crazy in Albuquerque. You would hope anyway. But that's coming out later this year, and that wasn't anywhere on my radar. I don't know if had you heard about that before?
No, I hadn't heard about it at all.
Yeah,
and we talked on the show like, oh, someone needs to do a Breaking Bad board game, and what would that look like? And
yeah,
I mean, and I think it was kind of similar to what we had kind of speculated it would look like.
Yeah, it fits very thematically with the show.
So that is something that is frustrating, not in a true sense, but just like, man, there's so much stuff here, and especially me having not been here Thursday, and you having taken like 4 hours or 3 hours.
Typically 3 hours a day, sometimes more, because I'd be helping them restock, or I'd be helping them defend the hot games.
Right.
Yeah, a good chunk of time out of the day.
There's just a lot to see.
Yes.
An absolute lot to see. So the rest of Saturday night, I went over to the Secret Cabal meetup, which was over at the Tow Yard. A good 10, 12-minute walk from the convention center. They have constantly kind of been over capacity at past venues. I'm kind of guessing at some numbers here. I think this place had a capacity of about 1,000.
Okay.
I think that's what they expected to show up. I showed up about 45 minutes early. I figured, I'll just go in, I'll have a beer, I'll just wait around, see when people show up. By the time I got there, 45 minutes early, there was already about 700-800 people in line. Okay?
Wow.
Right. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be crazy. So I didn't wait in line. I just kind of like hung out and like talked to people as they showed up, because I figured, I'll just, whatever, it's not going to be a big deal. Eventually, when the line started going in, when they finally opened the doors, I'm like, okay, I'll walk to the back of the line. I didn't realize it wrapped around the end of the building and was like way out, like 2 blocks like down.
Insane.
It was insane, and I'm like, okay. So I wound up continuing to wait outside, hanging out with some different friends, different media people and whatnot. Finally, Berkey came out, our buddy Berkey, and he's, by the way, he's having a fantastic show with his Game Toppers.
Yeah, getting a lot of buzz with that.
32 of them, I think, are here at the show.
Sponsor of the show.
At different,
to be clear, but I just said that anyway because I've seen them.
Yeah,
I've seen them in places.
Yeah. So he came out and he's like, it's crazy in there. It's super hot, super packed. So I wound up never actually going in the venue.
Excellent.
Because at a certain point, it just spilled out. And they were giving away a ton of games. They had different raffles. By the way, BJ picked up some more tickets for that raffle. He had to leave, so he gave them to me. And again, Murder Suicide Pact Part 2. We didn't win anything, which is fine. And so anyway, for the raffle, they wound up coming outside to give it away. I think, and I'm sure they'll have official numbers, I think we're talking at least 2,000 people.
Wow.
That just blew out the doors. I mean, because they had, the entire bar was like, yeah, we're going to shut down just for you guys. They had a beer for them, the full froth, I think, which is a reference to the podcast.
Oh, okay.
One of their
should probably start listening to this at some point. Yeah,
and it was crazy. It was just crazy. So eventually, I left there because I know the plan was to meet up with Nick and crew to play some games over at Lucas Oil Stadium, and that's where I played Secrets that night.
Right.
Eventually, we went back to the room. We played some Clank, and that was about it for my Saturday night.
A couple more things that happened. So you mentioned later in the night, and I sort of told this in a weird order, but basically I went over to one of the local restaurants, Mikado, I think is the name of it, for Arcane Wonders. Was holding an event, played some Onitama, played a couple of best of threes, ended up playing a lot more Onitama. I hadn't played Onitama in a while, ended up playing it quite a bit at this con, and got a good reminder of why I like it so much. It was actually my first time playing with the Sensei's Path expansion in there, and that was pretty cool to see some of those news. Those things can do some pretty funky stuff. So that was nice to see, and they were doing some nice giveaways there. Enjoyed that. Not quite as crazy as the Kabbalist thing by any means, which I think was actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Went over, so before all that, we got in a couple of other new plays. One, I finally played Sagrada from Daryl Andrews.
Yeah.
So that was a hot game at this con. That one was pretty well sold out from the get-go. One of Eddie picked it up, and we played it, and I like it a lot. It sort of has that dice drafting placement element I tend to like in games. I liked it in El Gaucho. I liked it in Role Player. I tend to like that mechanic in games. This one handles it well. It's a really puzzly, sometimes frustrating. You're building a stained glass window trying to accumulate the most points. Have you tried this one yet?
I have not. No,
I think you're really going to like it.
Yeah.
But again, you never know.
In that case, you're probably right.
Okay.
I will probably like that game.
What makes it so tricky is when you're drafting these dice, you have to place them according to certain rules on your board. In addition to that, though, they can't be orthogonally adjacent to any die of the same color or the same number. Well, the first time we played through a couple of rounds of this, I didn't know that rule or didn't remember that rule. And so my board was complete, like, oh, yeah, this is really easy. Just grabbing dice like left and right. No, that's not how the game works. We played it properly. I enjoyed it. I love how that game looks. Love how that game looks. It's very pretty in my mind and very clever. I think it may be one of the first Daryl Andrews designs I've actually played.
Okay.
I've heard a decent amount about him in recent years and met him a couple of times. Very nice guy. Excited to see more of his stuff just off of that play because that thing came together beautifully for that.
Yeah.
Beautifully. The other new play we got in was at quite frankly, one of the best publishers there is.
Okay.
Just a real, they put out incredibly high quality games.
Yep.
Not a sponsor of the show, by the way.
No.
But in a sense, maybe a sponsor of the show.
Well,
I'm dancing around a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
So we went over to Grey Fox Games.
Yes.
And Josh over at Grey Fox Games, they're one of their main guys, their developer, ran us through Harvest Dice.
Yes.
Which is a roll and write where you are planting tomatoes, lettuce, and carrots in your garden, feeding your pigs stuff that you can't plant. You have to plant stuff kind of orthogonally adjacent, make nice patches. Whatever dice is left over, whichever one doesn't get drafted, the demand for it increases, and that type is worth more at the end of the game. Really, really cool.
Yeah, very good game.
Really cool. And Sean, you really dug this. You like roll and writes in general.
Yeah, I like roll and writes in general. This reminded me, this is what I said, it reminded me of La Granja.
Yeah.
La Granja No Siesta,
yes.
which is the roll and write dice game adapted from La Granja. La Granja I love. No Siesta, I was like... No,
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did it better than I did.
I know. So, this was a little bit less complex than No Siesta.
Sure.
No Siesta ran a little bit long for my taste, but this was good, and it had kind of a similar feel.
Yeah.
But it was a better reward for the amount of time and the complexity of the game. I liked it. I thought it was a solid roll and write.
And we had some thematic fun with this. So there's a first player marker that comes in what most folks will get with a copy of the game. If you buy it direct from them, you'll get a pig meeple.
Yes.
Which we were all giving names to because you feed your pig stuff throughout the course of the game. I called mine Slops Mackenzie.
And I started by calling mine Slop.
Yeah, I kind of stole from you a little bit.
You did. That's fair.
Sloppers, I thought would be a decent one too. And there were a couple of other ones. Miss Piggy did not come up to my recollection.
No.
In any case, I mentioned this because Hey, I got a job, Sean.
Oh,
hey.
with who?
With Gray Fox Games.
Oh, okay. Now it all makes sense.
Oh, this all makes a lot of sense. I'm going to be the new marketing and community marketing guy primarily, with some other hats.
Do you know what job it is?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Primarily a marketing guy with some other responsibilities and roles and helping plan conventions, but in general, trying to make some noise, make a bigger splash with Gray Fox's games. For folks who don't know, they did Champions of Midgard as one of their biggest titles.
Oh, so it begins. Go on.
And Deception Murder in Hong Kong, or Deception Murder in Sean Kong if Sean were to design his own version of it.
Sure.
So yeah, I got a job. I found out about that on Thursday, so that was good to know, because otherwise I didn't really know where I was going quite exactly after the con. Probably to St. Louis for a day or two to go check out the Great American Eclipse, because it's right across, that band runs right through Missouri. My new home, soon to be. I'm going to be moving my stuff out to St. Louis. Sean, I'm excited for this, incredibly excited for this. You are incredibly relieved.
Incredibly relieved.
So explain some of that, because you were telling me a bit about this, like as I've been untethered, it's been a little bit freaky for you.
So when we recorded last week, your internet connection was terrible. It was terrible. It created so much lag. Like, I could not sync up our audio. Like, I had to continually readjust it. Like, in an ideal world, our lag is non-existent, and I can just sync it up the first time, and it's synced throughout the rest of the recording.
I was in Quebec.
Yeah. And they have no internet in Canada.
They have fantastic internet.
It was beavers with little wires on their tails.
Wow.
Hey, I'm just...
wow.
I'm just saying.
Our neighbors to the north are not going to be happy with you about that.
Well, okay, that's fine. But they're very polite people, so they're going to apologize to me for me insulting them. It's fine.
Jeez. You're a boot to get your butt kicked.
Jeez. So anyway, yeah. So I was consistently worried that you would be like in, I don't know, somewhere in like Missouri, just at like a truck stop recording. I don't know. You look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And so I was just like, oh man. So yes, I am quite relieved that you now have some sort of stability.
So you know what's funny? When you first said that, I took that not as a, man, I'm worried that this will be tricky for the podcast. I took that as, I'm worried for you as a friend.
Oh, no.
No, that wasn't the case at all. And I was like, oh, that's touching.
So here's the thing. You know, I was born in 81, right? I'm on the cusp of millennials and Gen X.
Yeah.
I'm technically
Technically, but you identify more as a Gen Xer, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
That's where I'd peg you.
Just the way I grew up and experiences, things like that. So I'm technically on the cusp, and so I don't understand how your mind works, Alex. I just don't.
This is true. We've run into this a couple of times.
I probably have spent a lot of time defending millennials in the past, because like there's always like criticism from like older people.
We're ruining everything.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, just chill out. And now I'm just like, okay, yeah, those millennials are crazy. Crazy as all heck.
Get off my lawn. Mean old man Duke Sean.
Yeah. So no, it's good. I am happy for you.
Thank you.
And I'm happy for me.
and I'm happy for me too. I'm excited to go to St. Louis, as we mentioned. Pretty great gaming community there. You were asking me about, well, are you going to build a gaming community wherever you end up?
You don't need to.
I kind of don't need to, because you already have Geekway to the West is based there. They have Pieces, which is a board game bar. Miniature Market is based out of there, as well as, of course, Jamie Stegmeyer and Stonemeyer Games. So yeah, it's a fantastic gaming city. I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to be somewhere new and interesting. Obviously, I always like to add this, though. Sad to leave behind the folks in Albuquerque. I heard, based on GenCon folks leaving, that game night was a little slow this past Wednesday at Empire. That made me a little sad.
Yeah.
Made me a little sad. So, gonna miss folks. It's gonna be frantic moving everything out there and kind of getting things all prepped and also figuring out what the heck I'm doing. I know what the heck I'm doing, and that I know some things I'm going to be doing to try and get Gray Fox more attention. Oh, like this. Oh, how about that? Free advertising.
Interesting.
But worth knowing for listeners too. If we ever talk about a game from that company, hey, they are literally paying me.
Yes.
Quite literally going to be paying me.
Yeah. So we'll remind that disclosure.
That is a full disclosure.
Yeah.
But a big disclosure. Obviously, that's not a typical sponsorship disclosure. That's a, hey, I work for these guys.
Right.
I think based just purely policy-wise, it's not that the show won't review it, but I personally won't be reviewing anything that gets played, and probably not even discussing in full detail during a review.
Yeah,
I may sit it out, and you can review it with someone.
What I'll probably do is I'll add in like cricket chirps. Like, so what do you think, Alex? Yeah,
yeah. Well, that'll make it sound like I don't like. Come on, come on now.
It's a joke.
Come on, Sean. Help me out. All right. Anyway, so
you should probably listen to some board game podcasts now.
I'm going to be listening to a lot of board game podcasts now to get caught up. A lot of what I'm going to be doing is trying to build relationships with other media members. Luckily, we have quite a few pretty solid ones already.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my life.
Cool.
It's good things happening.
Hooray!
Generally, hooray.
Hey, do you have any good food while you're here?
No.
Okay, so I ate a couple places. I ate at Harry and Izzy's. So I think one of the things, when you come to a convention like this is there are, certain places that you should try and go eat. Like I didn't get to go to Steak and Shake. Steak and Shake?
Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake.
You got it the first time.
Okay. But I went to Harry and Izzy's, and they have this cool little lunch deal where you get like a couple appetizers and an entree. They have this amazing shrimp cocktail. It's like a super horseradishy cocktail sauce.
Yeah.
It's these 3 big shrimp just smothered in this horseradish cocktail sauce. It was incredible. My head was about to explode.
Okay.
It was brutal. It was really good. We went to the Ram Restaurant and Brewery, and every year apparently they kind of reskin the menu. I guess Privateer Press got involved, and so everything was like War Machine and Hordes related. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that was, other than that, it was the free continental breakfast in the hotel every morning that I kind of got a bunch of protein to kind of keep me through most of the day.
Sure.
So I expected to have food be a bigger component to this con, but I'm just too busy to.
I had a moon pie for breakfast one day. I'm going to try and go to Primanti Brothers for kind of an early lunch if I can. I keep hearing about that place. I don't know if that'll end up happening. It kind of depends on how long this recording goes.
Sure.
And me moving my stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our GenCon discussion, but we're going to head on over to a brief review of Downforce and Indulgence. So, Alex.
Yes, Sean?
What do a rat, a fox, and a sheep all have in common?
I don't know, because we don't know what the fox says, but we have a pretty good sense of the other two.
What does a rat say? They go...
Yeah.
Or like...
Yeah, that sounds... No, I liked your second one. Yeah.
That's a rat?
Yeah, good enough.
What does a sheep say?
Bah.
Okay.
Come on now.
But they're also all mammals. But that's not the point.
Yeah, not at all.
They're actually all brand new movement cards in the expansion for Arcane Wonders Onitama Sensei's Path. Ooh. Yeah. So, Alex, are you a fan of Onitama?
Love it. Love this game.
So it's kind of like a streamlined chess where you're moving some pieces, you're trying to capture your opponent's pieces, or get your sensei to the opposing sensei's spot, so to speak. And what's really cool is that you're using 5 of these movement cards every game, but you're kind of sharing these cards. So when you use a particular movement card, you now make it available for your opponent. And what's really cool is this is offering 16 brand new movement cards that you can shuffle in with the base movement cards to add a little bit more variety to your games of Onitama. So interested in this, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just saw a couple copies at Empire. Might go swing by and pick one up.
So if you're local, go and pick it up at Empire Board Game Library. Otherwise, pick it up at your own friendly local gaming store or some online store of your choice. Either way, go buy Sensei's Path from Arcane Wonders. All right, so of course, Restoration Games, brand new publisher, and their mission statement is basically to infuse new life into old games that are deserving of it. And they've made a big push, kind of leading up to GenCon, to promote Downforce, Indulgence, and Stop Thief. We didn't get a copy of Stop Thief because I don't like hidden movement games.
Oh yeah, so you won't like that.
That makes sense. But we've had a copy of Downforce for months now, and a copy of Indulgence for a little bit less than that. And they finally made their debut here at GenCon. And what was interesting is Restoration kind of had a smallish booth, but you were saying that, and me too. I've
seen their games everywhere. Right. Downforce, Indulgence, and a bunch of people's bags. They were selling like crazy. It was definitely a smaller booth. I'm trying to remember if I saw space for demos or not, but it was not a big space.
Yeah. So Downforce has a 40-year history, Alex. Like that's
take us through that. Take us on a journey, Sean.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about it. So yeah, it had a 40-year history, which is pretty incredible. In fact, we kind of had some discussion about old games. I'm of the position that it's not just a re-release of it because they've changed the name.
They've given it new life.
They've done development to it.
Sure.
Like so, Rob Davio is the lead developer, and so you've got a modern board game designer kind of. Anyway, this is a Wolfgang Kramer game. Not that he's not a modern designer, but it's still updating, right? So this started off initially, I believe, as Tempo.
Yes.
Way back in the day. It's gone by a bunch of other names. It was Top Race at one point. Milton Bradley acquired it in the 90s, I think. And there was like Daytona 500, Cleveland Grand Prix. So, a long history. And so now it's Downforce. And to me, that it's interesting that they would choose to completely change the name and not necessarily invoke one of the previous names. But I think it's kind of cleaner that way. It helps establish what it is. So this is a racing and betting game, similar to say a Camel Up. However, you have some control over how the race cars work. So it's an indie style race car game. What's that called? It's not stock car because that's like.
No, it's not stock cars, the big NASCAR ones. It's open wheel? No.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right, well, we're not good at this. You're the sports guy. So
I don't know much about auto sports, though.
Okay. So in this, you are potentially, you're going to control at least one car. Right? Possibly more depending on the player count. And there's a bidding that happens for these cars. The more you bid, the more it's going to cost you in points at the end of the game. But as you bid for these cars, it's also going to give you some sort of special ability. And you have some information based on all of the cards in your hand, how the potential for certain cards to move. So maybe I know that I have a lot of red movement, so I want to control that red card, for example. Plus, there's a cool special ability that I like. Now, once we start the race, we go around the table and we play one card at a time. These cards have different bands on them. Some of them might have like 2, some of them might have all 6. And in order, from top to bottom, you're going to move a car around this racetrack based on what color it is. So it might say like red 5. So the red car will move 5 spaces, then it'll say like blue 3. And it'll move the blue card, and so on. And so you are trying to set it up so that you are maximizing the cars that you want to win and minimize the ones that you don't. So, for example, there are some tight spots where if you have 2 cars blocking the only 2 spots in this particular path, if you're moving a car that's behind it, they have to stop. They can't continue to move forward. So maybe I have this blue 6 card. And I don't want the blue card to move, and I've set it up so that it's not. I'm going to completely waste that 6 for them.
Get out of the hand.
Yeah. And what's cool, too, is that 3 spots during the race, you have to stop and say, okay, I think this car is going to win.
You make secret bets.
Correct. And so at the end of the game, for each one of these, you're going to score a certain amount of points. If, like for example, if you guess right away red's going to win, that first guess is worth a lot more points than second or third guesses because you have obviously some more information by that point. So at the end of this race, you're going to score points for for different places that your car comes in. So first place is going to score more points than fifth place, and you're going to score points for your bets that you've made, minus any operating costs, basically, that you have for bidding on those different cars. And whoever has the most points is the winner. And I'll say this, and this is one of the coolest things: you don't have to win in terms of the race itself. Right? You don't even have to pass the finish line. I've won a game without passing the finish line because my bets were all perfect, and the player that did win a bunch had like 3 cars to his name, and
some were expensive. I'm sure,
and huge operating costs.
Yeah,
so that's really cool. But okay, general thoughts. What do you think about Downforce?
Yeah, so what I like about this is, as you mentioned, multiple paths to victory. You can do a really good job at this game by navigating your car across the finish line first by somehow being more clever than everyone else. You're getting some help from other people. You can win this game by making savvy bets and kind of holding back a little bit, not spending as much money, not doing as much control with your cars, but controlling everything else on the racetrack to try and influence things. The blocking tactics can be quite interesting. How cars move can be interesting because in certain parts of the board it takes more spaces to go around the corner going on the outside than it does on the inside. It makes total sense. I love, and we're kind of going to burn through a lot of these pretty quickly. I liked a lot of the feel of this game. The fact that you have these abilities that you're bidding on in addition to the cars. You know how to value your hand. There's a lot of really interesting things that this game does. The wild cards, how those resolve, can prove pretty interesting. The abilities provide pretty game-breaking powers. You're talking about something that lets you get an extra space if you're moving down a straightaway, which I've seen used to great effect in a game.
Yep.
I've seen ones where it lets you steer your own car even though it's not your turn. I've seen people take advantage of that and move themselves into the right position at the right time. Those abilities really make the game. The ability to reverse a card, to play a card in reverse and resolve it the opposite
Bottom
way.
top, right.
Exactly, which might set up a situation that's advantageous for you. It's a lot of interesting decisions in a fairly mechanics-light game.
Yeah.
It doesn't... There's I'm not saying it's a simple basic game by any means, but it's not a hard one to learn. You can play this with a wide group of folks. It's a really good fit in that form. I tend to like these kinds of games. I like a winner's circle. I like a camel up, and this fits right at home in that group of games for me. And yet still does something different enough where I think there could be room in the collection for both. It's Camel Up or Downforce, I'm not dead sure on whether I'd have both in my collection, but I think for a lot of folks they might find room for that as well. So that's my general thoughts.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. When I first read the rules, I was like, oh boy, there's really not much to this game rules complexity-wise. And I was kind of expected to just think it was so-so. But I was pleasantly surprised. Because like you said, there's just a lot of decisions to make, how you're executing certain cards, how you're benefiting from those special abilities. No, I think it's really good. And kind of getting ahead of myself maybe, but if I were to pick between this and Camel Up, I would pick Downforce.
Okay.
Number one, a lot of times I'm bringing Camel Up out for kind of a gateway crowd.
Yes.
And in a lot of ways, there's more rules complexity to Camel Up.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
Right?
By a little, but yeah.
Well, this is an easier teach.
Yes.
And it's also easier conceptually, because I think people have an easier time of, or there's an expectation of, I'm going to be able to affect this race.
Sure.
Right? Camel Up, you can't do that. I mean, with the exception of the desert or oasis tiles.
Sure.
Other than that, you don't really have any agency over what the camels do. So I think this is a little bit more intuitive in that sense. The betting process is simplified. There's less choice in actions.
Sure.
But it's still very tactical in how you're maneuvering the cars. Lot of cool decisions. So right now, if I had to pick between playing this or Camel Up, Camel Up, which is a game that I love, I mean, I think it's really solid. I'm going to pick Downforce.
Yeah. I
get a little more satisfaction out of it, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect that to happen with this game. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Rulebook is solid. Take a look at it. Yeah, solid rulebook, but there's not a lot of rules overhead here anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's solid.
No issues. Components art.
Yep, components art. It's got a great double-sided board, two different boards, and I am excited I want them to just crank out
more boards.
Expansion boards. Yeah, it's easy. It's super easy. They just need to crank those out.
Yeah, there's no work in those at all.
None at all. No, it's super easy. They should have it. No, but relatively speaking, boards, you get some new card abilities.
I want to see them add jumps.
Okay. Add some Mario Kart like shells.
Yeah. Downforce Mario Kart.
Oh boy,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not?
Sure, why not?
Anyway.
But no, good quality cards. The iconography is super clear. I think it's a really solid production. I like the aesthetic of it. I don't know how to describe it. I'm trying to think of, how would you describe how the board looks, for example, like the racetrack?
Okay. It's not cartoony.
No.
I don't think it's not. I wouldn't call it super realistic either, though. There's representative with, I don't know.
There's a certain it's trying to. I feel like it's trying to look like an older game.
Yeah,
but in an updated way.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
It's hard to describe. It's not an art style that stands out in any one way to me. If that makes sense.
Well, it doesn't look. This doesn't sound like a ring endorsement. It doesn't look bad.
By any means.
Like I've seen some bad racing tracks.
Yeah.
That just look like, oh.
Yeah.
This looks good.
No, it's a solid looking racing track for sure. Is it something that's like, oh man, I got to play this? And we're gonna keep making the comparisons Downforce and Camel Up. I think one of the appeals of Camel Up is that's a unique look. You have the giant pyramid dice holder sitting in the middle of the table,
stacking camels.
Yeah, you have the Oasis. Yeah, the stacking camels. It's wacky how that goes. I think for that reason it can appeal to a gateway crowd, and I've had it appeal to a gateway crowd, even though it is a little more complex on the rules, because of how that all resolves.
Sure.
In any case.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job on the components art in general, though. The cars themselves are nice little open-wheel racing cars.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
Formula One. There we go.
Yeah, that's what
I think I was trying to say. Yeah, great. Awesome job by us. So, and they move around the track. Someone joked that might be cool if they had wheels. And no, I think they'd probably move out of place. That was a good job not doing that, actually. Yeah. Cards themselves, pretty solid quality. Really nice.
Yeah.
No complaints.
Would you call this a mean game?
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be a quite mean game.
Yeah. To me, this is all about maneuvering, blocking, burning cards, or burning movement on cards for cars that you don't care about.
Sure.
You don't want to win.
Right.
I think it's really fun. And I think it's really satisfying to be like, oh, the blue car moves 6. Oh, sorry. You're completely blocked in. And now my red car can move 4.
And you can run out of gas in this.
Yes.
You can get to a point where your car does not cross the finish line. And if that's the case, you don't get any points for that car.
Yeah.
It's bad and you feel bad about it. Like, the pit crew screwed up again. That'd be an interesting combination, Downforce pit crew. I'm just saying, and you play pit crew first to see how much fuel the other cars can add. Anyway.
Would you call this a thematic game?
I'd say quite thematic.
Yeah.
Quite thematic in how it resolves and the feel of it. And in this, we're moving into this tight corner. I'm gonna hug the inside. I'm gonna block them off. They can't get around me. You're moving them and kind of going vroom vroom as you're moving them on the board. It absolutely has that thematic feel. Yeah. No doubt about it.
So I think it's interesting. So Justin from Restoration Games, also an attorney, by the way.
Hey.
So Justin and Rob, I think it's a great concept here of let's find games from the past that are really good, that can use maybe a bit of an update, a little bit of a polish, a little bit of development to just kind of modernize them a little bit. And it's a good, in concept, it's a really good idea. And I think Downforce is a really good execution of that concept. It has kind of a nostalgic feel to it, but it feels
like a modern game.
Yeah.
At least, it doesn't feel dated, to be clear. And I think that's exactly what they were trying to do. And look, so many more gaming podcasts, us included, can be cult of the new. I think a lot of gamers can be cult of the new. I saw the crowds rushing to different booths to grab stuff, including this, by the way. This is a good reminder that there's a lot of great designs out there that folks may not be aware of. Just waiting to be restored and brought back to life, and I think this is good proof of that.
So let's go into our final thoughts, ratings of Downforce. For those of you who don't know, we use a 6-point scale here on the Dukes of Dice. So 1 is bad, 6 is an all-time favorite, contender for the top 10. By the way, if you want to hear our top 10 list, go listen to episode 155. So I'll go first. No, I think Downforce is great. Like I said, I would play this over Camel Up. I think what you were kind of alluding to earlier, I think there's a spot in the collection for both. I think that some people could be a little frustrated by Camel Up without that agency. Like, for some people, that just doesn't make sense. It's just a pure betting game in that sense, with a bunch of craziness happening. I don't know that I necessarily have the stand-up moments like I do in Camel Up.
Right.
But I like having control of the race.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's very different. I think, like I said, I think there's room for both in the collection. I like Downforce a little bit better, and I'm going to give it a 5.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a very strong 5. A great game. I will rarely turn down a play of this. I mean, I brought this out a bunch at Dice Tower Con, at Empire. Like, it's so easy to teach. The game itself is pretty quick. There's not a lot of overhead in that sense. It's great. I mean, it's a really solid 5.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Very cool. So I'm going to actually settle in an interesting place with this one. I was thinking in my head, is this a 4 or is this a 5? Where am I going to go with this? It's not going to get up to a 6. It's not going to go as low as a 3. And it's somewhere right in the middle. I don't want to give it a half point. And I think where I ultimately settle is on a 4.
Really? I like this more than you do?
I think you do.
Weird.
Here's the thing. I think this one suffers a little in my mind from comparisons.
Okay.
So I mentioned 3 games at the top of things. Winner's Circle,
Yeah.
Camel Up, and Downforce. If all 3 of those are available, I'm probably picking Downforce third, which is a shame because I think they did a really great job with the production. I think it's a lot of fun to play. I enjoy all 3 pretty well. Winner's Circle, for a mean game, I like how that resolves. It has kind of a weird little trader mechanic. It has the betting incorporated, and there's those stand-up moments on the table where you're resolving, where you're picking up it's a lot of fun where you're rolling the dice. Hey, roll a horse head, roll this. I get more excitement in that. In Camel Up, it has that wacky, zany, crazy feel, and again, has stand-up moments. This game could end on this roll, no, it could end on this roll. Do I need to move myself in a position for this? And it does betting really well. I like how this one operates. I like the special player powers. I like that a team owner can have multiple cars versus one car, and the one car can still beat the 3. I like a lot of what's going on here. It's just because those other 2 are there, I'm likely to play those first. And in that sense, it falls more to a good game, belongs in the Duchy. It's a strong 4. I think they did a great job with the production. I like what they did with how they took this game. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm at a 4 here.
If this had jumps, would you give it a 5?
Heck yes. Absolutely. Jumps and spins. Rob Davio, get on putting jumps in this game post-haste. But yes, to be clear, a strong recommendation for it, no doubt about it. Sean, you give it a 4? 5?
I gave it a 5.
Yep, you sure
I gave
did.
it a 5.
I'm tired.
You gave it a 4.
And I gave it a 4. Sean liking this one better than me maybe tells you something a little interesting. I like it a lot too, though. I don't want people to misread the scores not liking it.
Yeah, there's a certain purity to this game that like Camel Up doesn't have. I haven't played Winner's Circle.
Yeah. You'd really like Winner's Circle,
right? And so I don't know. Maybe that would affect my view of it. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to get that one to the table. I don't know if Empire has it right now.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, you got to play it. It's getting released. It's really good. Anyway, that's our review of Downforce. 5 for Sean, 4 for me.
Well, Sean, I'm packing my bags.
Oh, you're leaving again?
Yeah, I'm going to Kyoto.
Okay, that seems weird.
With my army.
You have an army now?
Yeah, I do.
Are you
an army of fans?
15% maybe.
Hey, that's a good number.
Yeah.
All right. No, but I'm talking not about actual travel for once. I'm talking about Jiraku, soon-to-be-released game from Tasty Minstrel Games.
Oh, you're not being literal. I was so confused.
Yeah.
Ads are hard, Alex.
So in Jiraku, you are trying to play out armies to the board and control different territories of Japan with the ultimate goal of dominating Kyoto.
So what's interesting here, Alex, is unlike a lot of area control games, the main mechanic here is trick-taking. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. Trick-taking. It's a trick-taking area control game. Area control and trick-taking. How many times can I say trick-taking, Alex?
Several. Not an infinite number, but a good number.
So it's pretty interesting, right? I mean, because you don't typically see that kind of combination.
And it works really well.
It does. In fact, you have played this. You played this in your travels. I actually imported the copy before Tasty Minstrel Games was nice enough to kind of do that work for our listeners out there, which is going to be happening pretty soon. It's anticipated July, maybe August release for Jiraku.
You can check out Jiraku and all of TMG's other titles at playtmg.com.
All right, so the last one we're going to talk about is Indulgence, the second of Restoration Games 3 that came out at GenCon. By the way, did you hear what they announced?
Yes, Fireball Island.
Fireball Island's going to be one of the next ones. Very excited for that. And that's kind of the thing that people have been wanting to see. So I think Restoration, well, I'm getting ahead. I think they've hit it out of the park with Indulgence as well.
Okay.
So this is a trick-taking game. I really enjoy trick-taking games. Right now, if I were to say my favorite is Skull King, my second favorite is Diamonds. And then there's a bunch of others that are probably jockeying for position. Haven't played Spires yet. I like ladder climbing games, although they're not trick-taking games. But anyway, I like trick-taking games. I like card games, right? So what's the history of Indulgence, Alex?
So it's got a couple of predecessors here. 1966's Coup d'etat and 1982's Dragon Master.
Okay.
'Tis I, the Master of Dragons. Anyway, that's not a new character. I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was originally designed by G.W. Darcy, who was the designer of kind of the original games, and then of course Rob and Justin from Restoration have done some of the development to kind of update this. And this is a trick-taking game where what you're trying to do changes from round to round. So you're trying to have the most points, the most gold, or whatever you want to call it, and it's kind of a closed economy. So everyone starts with the same amount, and you're trading it back and forth throughout the game based on how well you're able to complete a round. So you're going to go around 3 times. So everyone's basically, if it's a 4-player game, you're going to play 12 rounds, right? And at the end, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. That makes perfect sense. There are 4 suits from 1 to 9, and the suits are different medieval Renaissance era families, right? The Medicis, the Borgias, things like that. And what you're going to do at the start of a round is one person is going to look at these 3 edicts, which basically they're going to choose which one is kind of the goal for that particular round. So it might say, don't collect any Borgias. So at the end of the round, for every player who's not the ruler, if they've collected a Borgia, they're going to have to pay the ruler a certain amount per Borgia. Or it might say, don't collect any 6s. Or it might say, don't have any pairs of Borgias and Medicis. So like if I have the 2 Borgia and a 2 Medici, I'm going to have to pay the ruler. Now, once the ruler selects the edict, everyone in turn order has a chance to say whether or not they want to sin. Sinning is kind of shooting the moon.
Sinning is winning.
It's the opposite. So if it says, don't collect any Borgias, if you want to sin, you're saying, I'm going to collect all the Borgias. And then everyone kind of has to pay you if you do that. What's cool is if you decide to sin, you're going to get this little signet ring, which means you can turn it in once per round to turn one of your cards into a 10 of that suit. Remember, there's only 1 through 9, but this makes it a 10. All right. Now, in addition, if you kind of play the advanced game, once per game, you're able to use your papal bull to say all 3 edicts are in effect, which is pretty crazy.
And then there's on the flip side of that, there's the super sinner, kind of. I don't think that's the exact name for it, but I like that name.
Okay.
Where you're going to say, nope, I'm going to do all 3 of these sin sides of things. And you still get the ring, but you will win the game if you can do this. It's really hard.
No, yeah, you flat out win.
Yeah, you straight up win.
Yeah, you don't check for points, anything like that. So the game will end either at the end of these 3 rounds going around the table, or if someone super shoots the moon,
or if someone's broke,
or if someone goes out loses all their points. So yeah, that's the gist of how to play. What are your thoughts, Alex?
So with Indulgence, the edicts add a really interesting element. These rules, it mixes things up big time. You, as you're going around, you're really concentrating on, can I do this? Can I do this thing? If I'm going to take a big risk and sin, how badly is this going to burn me? If I'm the person setting the edict, what am I going to do to eke the most possible out of other players? Because you can't really be penalized as the person setting the edict as long as no one sins. But on the other hand, you want to extract as much pain as possible out of people, because that's your chance, that's your shot, that's your opportunity. Sort of a Hamilton thing going there. Anyway, you haven't heard Hamilton. You know Hamilton?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it, but no, I have not.
You should listen to it. Hamilton's really good. Everyone says that, but it's true. Anyway, that mix of kind of having to follow the rules, that thematic with the ring, getting to wear that signet ring, the components of this, as we're about to talk about, immerse you a little bit more in the theme. And I just love the look of this game. I love the look and I like the feel of this game. I have some questions about end of round stuff, but we'll clarify that when we get into gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah, some questions about how each round resolves or some issues with it, maybe. Maybe.
Okay.
We'll talk it out.
All right.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I enjoy this a lot. Like I said, enjoy trick-taking games, and I think this is really good. I like that every round is completely different.
Yeah.
Because there are like 20-some different cards, and you're going to see most of them in a game. And it just creates a very different play experience, right? You have to really understand how trick-taking games work, because sometimes you're trying to short-suit yourself, right? Sometimes you don't want to short-suit yourself. Sometimes, there's some cards that say, take the very last Borgia.
Yeah. That had some tension during the course of the round, big time.
There's some card counting. There's all sorts of stuff that happens there. I think it's a really solid trick taking game, and I like you play a game like Hearts, right? That was the first trick taking game I've ever played, and with the exception of Shooting the Moon, there's a certain straightforwardness to it.
Yes.
Right? Just don't take the hearts. Right?
Well, and especially the Queen of Spades.
Don't take the cards that give you points. And I like when trick-taking games make it so that sometimes you want to win and sometimes you want to lose, and not just win to just be able to control the next lead, but whatever. And so when I played a game like Skull King, where what you're trying to do depends on what you're bidding, and it's just a very different way of playing, right? And this does that too. And so I really do enjoy that.
Fox in the Forest does that well as well, where you can lose a lot, and that's actually really, really good in the context of that game. I do like that whether you're winning or losing, there's something interesting that's going on at the table, regardless of, in most cases, regardless of the hand you get dealt. I agree with you. I like that a lot.
So as far as the art components, it uses nice tarot-sized cards. I think the cards are good quality. My only criticism of like the graphic design is that the numbers are only on one corner instead of like two opposite corners. So you always have to have it arranged the right way, which it's fine. It's not a huge deal, but something that I did, I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate.
That one doesn't bug me so much, but I can understand where you're coming from, for sure. In terms of the look of it, as I mentioned, it's actually something that really brought me into this game. I love those big, chunky edict tiles.
Yeah.
I like how that works. I love the ring, and it just feels cool to slip on that ring and have that during the course of the round as sort of like a reminder, hey, I'm sinning and I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, too. So the look and feel of this game is pretty satisfying to me. What's interesting is you have these different colored crystals, effectively, or cubes for money.
Right.
That proved, at least initially, a little confusing to me. It's like, so we just deal these out randomly? What the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
They're different colors, but different colors just because it looks cool on the table.
Yeah.
They all actually have the same value.
They're not player colors or anything like that.
Yeah, which was maybe a little odd. And you could make them player colors, I guess, in that you could see who you've stolen from the most or taken from the most.
Except there's 5 different colors.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily...
And it plays four players.
That's
max.
right, so never mind, that doesn't work.
Okay.
Anyway, that was a little bit confusing as a component choice for me initially. I'm fine with it. I think it gives the game a cool look. I think some folks out there might wish that they did those all in one color because they all do the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think about the... So each of the cards basically has a portrait of a member of this family.
Yes.
What do you think about the art?
I think I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it.
So it's interesting because it's kind of like a classic portrait style, and it's them against kind of a background color of their suit, and then there's also this like little stroke that goes around each of them. So it's clear, it's kind of bold. It's colorblind friendly because they have different icons for the different suits, and apparently Justin was telling me this, on each card there is some secret symbol from like some secret society.
Okay.
So you can kind of look for those, and it might be kind of fun to kind of go through and figure out like what this represents and things like that. So
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So each one has something different. So that's nice little Easter eggs to go check out. So gameplay wise, and we kind of touched on it. It's this idea that what you're trying to do changes round to round. You're playing the game out differently depending on what the edict is, if someone's sitting or not, and sometimes you'll have a hand of cards, and you're like, oh, well, I could probably win all the Borgias, but that doesn't do me any good because it's a Medici related round in some way, shape, or form. That can be a little frustrating sometimes when you're like, oh, I never have the hand to deal with what the particular game is,
Sure.
or a particular edict is. But that's what it is, and that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just kind of the randomness of dealing out cards.
And the truth of the matter is, you will have your turn to set the edict and set the round and set the tone of things.
Right. 3 times, in fact.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little bit longer than a lot of trick-taking games, but I think because you're doing something different every time, you don't quite feel that length.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's almost a little bit more of a appointment trick-taking game. Not really.
Sure.
Not like Twilight Imperium appointment gaming, but
Yeah.
a little bit more. Like it's not necessarily just going to be a quick filler in between stuff.
It's a little long.
You're going to have to decide, hey, let's pull this down. I want to...
That being said, you were worried I'd find this too long, and I do not.
Yeah,
it does not overstay its welcome by any means.
That.
Yeah, it doesn't. It plays in just the right amount of time. You feel like you're getting good satisfaction out of it. You feel like you're seeing enough edicts to see the interesting choices in the game, and you feel like you see a lot of the game, even in just a play. And yeah, it does not outstay its welcome in my mind. The question I had in my mind that's still actually unresolved, so I'm more bringing it up as a question than as a true issue. It felt like there were a lot of rounds in this, not a ton, but enough, where there was sort of an anticlimactic finish to it.
Okay.
Where the last few tricks were kind of pro forma. You still had to play them out anyway, but I'm not saying in every case, but enough cases where I noticed it. Was that your experience with this?
Yes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, because in Hearts, at a certain point,
that happens too.
You just know.
And yeah, in Hearts you can do something called the rest are mine.
Yeah.
Where you just say, hey, it's pretty clear, like I'm not shooting the moon here, but it's pretty clear I'm getting the rest of these. I'm not getting off of this suit.
Right.
So, in theory, you could do that with this. In some cases, maybe not so much.
So, like, for example, to make it clear, like, if you sit and say, I'm going to take all the Medicis, as soon as someone else wins a trick with a Medici in it, well, you can stop playing. Like, It doesn't matter. There's no degree of how you're doing it. It's all or nothing,
all or nothing.
Right? So that's what you mean. And I'm fine with that because in some ways it speeds up the game, too. Yeah. Because you'll have rounds where it's like, oh, okay, we don't need to play out these last 2 rounds of this particular, last 2 tricks of this particular round.
Sure.
So
makes sense.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Where the difference comes in for me is in something like, and again, bringing it up not because I'm working at the booth, but it's top of mind. I demoed this game a lot, Fox in the Forest, where even down to the last couple of tricks, that can be fairly tense. Either you're trying to claw in as many points as you can, outright win the majority, or there's some tension over, am I going to have few enough where I screw over my opponent and make them take all the points? That feels more tense through every single trick in a lot of cases.
Well, and Fox in the Forest also has, like, card abilities.
The trump switching, powers. Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's constantly changing, whereas Indulgence is constantly changing from round to round, but not within the round.
Yeah.
So
I still enjoyed it. It was just that thing came to mind. What I like about this game is there are a lot of fun decisions, right? There's the fun decision to me of which edict do I put in place for the round. There's the fun decision of, am I going to try and effectively shoot the moon here? Is that a good idea? And there's also, we found in one of the plays, the play I got in, that you have to super sin on the last round to have any chance.
Yeah.
So I think I was in a position where I either had to super sin or the edict cards had to pay out in such an extravagant fashion that was the only scenario in which I won. That can be kind of fun when someone's trying to really, like, kind of grand teach you, really shoot the moon, and everyone's doing their darndest to stop. It becomes a one versus many in some form or fashion each round. I like that. I smiled a lot in terms of when I was making these decisions, and that's a good sign for a game for me. So, yeah, that's where I tend to fall on this one, Sean.
Okay. So the theme of this is it has something to do with these noble families from the Renaissance, the indulgences, which are the selling of the forgiveness of sins by the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages. Does this trick-taking game capture that thematic feel in your mind?
Yeah, kinda.
Oh, okay.
Kind of. In terms of the broader thematic theme of someone's the Pope each turn, and other people have the choice to sin or not.
Okay.
From that perspective, yes. From that exact way you told it, maybe not.
Okay. Yeah, you have the vying of control of the different Renaissance families. Okay, sure.
But in fairness, if you think about it, and it took me a second to click, but in thinking about it, you are paying penance in some form or fashion.
True.
So if no one's sinning and there's just an edict in place, thou shalt not do this.
Yeah.
Pay your indulgence, pay for forgiveness, effectively, to whoever set that. When you're sinning, you are in a position where, yeah, if you make it happen, I guess you've gained enough influence over the church to change the rules or break the rules. But if you don't, you're also paying big time because you sinned in a major, probably pretty public way. So to me, yeah, actually it feels thematic on both fronts.
Okay.
I don't know if that explanation made it clear.
No, I think I was prepared to say, oh, not at all. But you've convinced me, Alex.
Excellent.
That's your one for the year.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
I'll take it.
So yeah, final thoughts on Indulgence.
Yeah, final thoughts and score. I don't think I'm going to give this one a set score. I'm going to give this one a tentative score.
Okay.
I wasn't able to get enough plays to where I'm comfortable enough to give this one a set score. I would say where I'm at is a 4 with a possibility it goes up to a 5. So it's again in that kind of high 4 territory for me. I like it a lot as a trick-taking game. I think it does a lot of cool things thematically. I'm not always feeling super engaged in every single round. That's not necessarily going to happen in most trick-taking games anyway.
Sure.
So, for my money, it's high 4, low 5 territory. I don't know where exactly I'd fall. I'm not going to give it a set score at this point, though.
Okay.
I might come back to it later if I get more plays.
Okay. So, when I compare it to Skull King and Diamonds, I definitely continue to like those more than Indulgence. I think Indulgence is really solid. I enjoy it, and I'm excited to play more of it. I'm going to give it a 4 as well. A good game will rarely turn down a play of it and belongs to the Duchy. And that's true. I will rarely turn down a play of it.
Isn't that from a 5?
So I'm going to give it a 4. A good game, worth playing, just not all the time, belongs in the Duchy. And again, that kind of comes from the idea that, well, if I'm bringing out a trick-taking game, it's probably going to be Diamonds or Skull King. But this is solid. And yeah, it's the way it has you play the game so differently from round to round.
Yeah,
is just a lot of fun. So yeah, but I think maybe the length of it kind of brings it down. Doesn't overstay its welcome for me necessarily, but because it's a little bit longer, yeah. And I think this is the kind of game that you really need to have a good feel for how trick-taking works.
Yes.
Diamonds, from our buddy Mike Fitzgerald and Stronghold Games, for example, is a little bit more straightforward. You have the different suit abilities and things like that. And I think you could take someone who's never really played a trick-taking game and they'll do well enough in Diamonds. In Indulgence, I don't think that's the case. So that's I think that's where we stand then on Indulgence. A 4 from me and a tentative 4 from Alex.
All right, Sean.
Yeah.
Con experience is just about wrapping up. I know you got a flight to catch, and I got a drive to make.
Yeah, that's true. So we've got a little less than an hour before I need to leave. So I'm going to go head to the exhibitor hall and just, I don't know,
walk around. I got to go get all my stuff out of my room and run it to my car, and then I still got a shift to work over at Renegade, so I'll be demoing some more flip ships.
Oh, wow.
And ship flipping, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to earn that badge.
So you're probably going to be here next year.
Oh, yeah.
In an official
Assuming I still have a job there, yes. I would hope so.
Well, yeah. I'm making that assumption for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Sean, I think probably worth telling folks overall impressions of GenCon.
Yeah.
How did this one fit for you as a first timer? How did it compare to expectations?
It was rough missing that one day for me.
Yeah.
Right. It was pretty in line with my expectations, knowing the size of the crowd, knowing how big the exhibitor hall is going to be. Like, none of that fazed me necessarily.
Sure.
I didn't expect to have the what do I do now AP.
Yeah.
That certainly was a little overwhelming, which I guess is a product of the size. But yeah, I feel like next year I would probably plan things out more, schedule things. Like, I intentionally decided not to do that this time.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to just kind of soak it in. And I think next year, we had a couple meetings this year. Next year, I think I'm gonna have a more definitive schedule of things.
Set down private plays with publishers, that sort of thing.
Right.
And that tends to be how a lot of other media folks who come out here tend to do things.
Right.
I know Dan had a lot of folks coming to his room to show him games. That's I think how I'd like to do it next year as well. But I didn't know I was coming here until 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
So I'm happy to have gotten kind of whatever experience I can, and at least I know more of what I'm getting into come next year.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. In terms of my thoughts, so having BGG Con and Dice Tower Con to compare to, My cons that I'd been to previously, I had been in positions where, hey, this is all about play. This is all about getting stuff to the table. I hadn't been to a trade show-esque kind of thing. Now, I will say this for folks who say it's a total trade show, you can't play anything. I think that's actually dead wrong. There are plenty of opportunities to play things in different forms and fashions, whether it's out in the events, whether it's just folks gaming in lobbies of various hotels, just about every hotel in this downtown area. The size of it is a spectacle. So I have a love-hate thing, and I'll get into the hate in a second. The love is, it's a spectacle. It's giant. It gives you this warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that there are all these other gamers out there doing their thing, jamming away, on the same wavelength as you. You have the cosplayers, you have bands walking around. It's a scene, and it's a cool scene. I like this feeling of walking around to different places. It's a bit of a hike sometimes, but it makes this whole thing feel really massive.
My feet hurt.
Yeah.
My feet hurt.
Mine do too, in fairness. And I'm going to be up on them a little bit more today. Plus a drive. And that's a fun decision.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the hate side of it, or the dislike side of it, the thing that kind of caught me off guard, was with BGG Con and Dice Tower Con. The library is open, ready to access, no problem, anytime. Check in a game, check out a game. It's included as part of the badge.
Are you about to gripe about $8?
Well, kind of.
Oh, boy.
Well, not just that, though. So, in order to get library access for 10 hours, to be clear, not for the whole con, for 10 hours, $8 at a time, in addition to the badge.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting that or aware of that. I'm not complaining. Like, it's not going to break the bank. It was a little off-putting for me.
Okay.
Not just that, but also this idea of event tickets, where to sit down and play a game or try a full game, you have to pay $2, $4, maybe even $6. To me, that was a little. It's just off-putting. And when you compare it to like a BGG Con or a Dice Tower Con, where everything is so open, hot games are set up, no problem. Walk up, hey, someone's trying this out here, hey, someone's trying this out there, get in a full game, no problem. It's a different experience, and it's meant to be a different experience. I get that. For me, I prefer that kind of place where I can get in play. I can get in more play. It feels a little more intimate.
Sure.
To me, I like the spectacle. It's a little too big. I'm going to get used to it. I'm definitely going to get used to it. But yeah, I mean, when you're dropping $8 on the library, $16 on the bridge simulator, a few bucks here and there. True Dungeon, I think, is $64 per go, somewhere in that ballpark. Sells out really fast. For folks who don't know, it's just like an interactive walkthrough dungeon. Just summarizing it really fast. But this idea of kind of paying to get into a bunch of different things was odd for me. This sort of not all-inclusive pricing. Sort of like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet or having gone to all-you-can-eat buffets and then all of a sudden getting hit with a menu.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's a gatekeeping function, right? Because when you have this many people, if something is completely free, and it's also a tax, right? It's a use tax.
Sure.
So they could raise the badge prices to cover. I don't know. It's what it is.
Just in terms of my mindset and how I think about things, I'd rather have paid more for the badge. Not that I paid for the badge at all, but rather have paid more for the badge and had more stuff included.
Yeah.
Rather than all of this a la carte. Hey, $2 here, $8 there, $4 here.
Sure.
Anyway, that was off-putting, and also the general size and feeling lost and not feeling like you can get to everything.
Yeah.
Is a tricky feeling. In a lot of these other times, you feel like you can get to everything. It's gettable.
Sure.
So yeah, that's where I fit on Gen Con. Kind of a mixed thought.
So to wrap it up, did you go over to the museum, the Gen Con museum over at Lucas Oil?
I saw it, and I was going to go to it after the library, but I was tired. Was it cool?
It was really cool. So it basically had a bunch of exhibits from the 50 years of Gen Con history, different games. Like you had some original notes of Gary Gygax, who invented Dungeons and Dragons, who started Gen Con. His initial typed up chainmail, which was the predecessor to Dungeons and Dragons. Just a bunch of historical gaming artifacts.
Wow.
It was really cool.
Wow.
And so there was one exhibit's okay, here's the 1960s. It's the era of wargaming, and then it's the era of maturity, and the era of Dungeons and Dragons, and then the era of Magic, and then the era of Euro games, and up to the modern time. And you just see this progression, and you see the history. I saw they had the first edition of Diplomacy. This pink copy, they made it look like a party game. There's all these people drinking cocktails, having fun on the cover, and it's just oh boy.
Oh,
it's not. So it was I got a little misty-eyed, going through the museum.
I'm really bummed I missed that. I'm going to see if I can walk over there I'm going to see if I can walk over there before that actually closes. I may not have the time.
It's quite a hike.
It is a huge hike to Lucas Oil from here. It's all connected, but it's still a long walk, and I don't think I'm going to have the time to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bummed because I was there, and I forgot to get around to that. But that's the thing is, you cannot possibly physically see everything, do everything at this con.
Yeah.
And in some senses, you get this, oh man, I should have done this, or oh, I could have done that, and that can tear at you a little bit.
Yeah. But overall, I really enjoyed this experience, and I mean, I have every intention of coming back next year, and you do too.
Every intention, yes.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this GenCon special of Dukes of Dice. But before we wrap it up, let's real quick go through the rest of the top 6 names for this episode 156.
So, for the rest of our top 6, Jeff Rademacher, Hail Indy, Full of Race.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a runner-up. That was a pretty clever one.
That one's pretty good.
Nice job, Jeff.
So, Todd Kowuk? I can barely do that right now.
Nice. Good job, though.
Ladies and Indulgence. Like gentlemen, gents. And he had in parentheses, start your engines.
Yeah. But you got Jen in there, you got Indulgence.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Kyle Kelly, who I think, put him on the naming watch list, because Kyle Kelly has come with some heat of late. Kyle Kelly came this time with Golden Oldies, talking about a couple of old games, and of course, I think the 50th is a golden anniversary.
Yeah.
There you go. Very clever.
Jesse Metcalf suggested Sinners and Racers in the Land of the Pacers.
Love it. I'm a sucker for a good rhyme.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the basketball reference.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, sports reference. Clearly, as this episode proved, I know a ton about sports.
Yeah.
John Giblin wraps up our top 6 with Colt, C-O-L-T, that's Colt, of the Old.
Another sports reference. There
Absolutely.
you go.
Yeah. So that's going to do it. Thanks again to John Knost. Hopefully we didn't butcher that. With Cindy 500, first name. Well done. And, have a safe flight back, good sir.
Yes, indeed. Wait, who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, I thought you were going to John still.
No, to you.
Okay.
Sorry, I switched it over.
Have a safe drive.
I mean, if John, if you're flying, I don't remember where he's based out of. If you're flying, have a safe flight too. When you hear this, I hope you had a safe flight. Anyway.
All right.
You have a safe flight.
Thank you. You have a safe drive. So until next time, this is Sean.
And Alex.
And happy GenCon, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded at GenCon 50 on August 20th, 2017. Our theme music is provided by Carbohydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com, and for all the latest in the Dutchie, go to DukesOfDice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Tasty Minstrel Games and Arcane Wonders. Check out all their awesome titles at PlayTMG.com and ArcaneWonders.com. We'll see you back here in 1 week. Until then, game on!